Not the Chuddle.
Chuddle. Surprise.
I have a real soft spot for evil.
Blood flying everywhere.
So good.
I'm a big boy who doesn't get scared.
Out of the mist and into the fog, it's Chuddle the Pod.
Salutations, cultish club members. Welcome to a brand new meeting of the Chuddle the Pod Horror Movie Club. Tonight we gather to discuss 2019's Midsommar. My name is Bryan. I'm joined by my co-anthropologists of the pod, Ross and Sam. How you guys doing? Welcome.
Oh, hey. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah, I know that
studying other
it's
people's
always a
cultures.
pleasure.
So we're going to cover this every 90 years, right? That's the ongoing thing. We have to survive. We have to live long enough to do Midsommar 90 years from now.
Well, we just got to teach our children how to do it.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
Generational. We're not going to be alive.
They got to teach their children
that's
as
right,
well.
because
we got less than 40 years, guys.
Yeah, shit.
90 years from this point, like I think your kids might need to teach their kids.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true.
At this point,
That
what's
is
going
true.
on here? So thanks, guys. We're going to go on this journey together tonight, and we're happy everyone's joining us in the club meeting for this one. Don't forget, we do keep it spoiler free up top, and we'll let you know when those spoilers are presented. And don't forget, don't forget. Don't forget.
Don't you fucking forget.
We got a Patreon, and we got a beautiful coven of witches. Their sacrifice gives us life, and we thank them for their beautiful souls. Those people are awesome. We appreciate everyone who's jumping into there and contributing and being a part of that community as well. It fuels the fires of the Chuddle engine. And we love you guys.
What do they get?
They got bonus episodes. They got
What?
non-horror movie reviews. We just
Ooh.
covered Point Break.
We did.
We've talked about, speaking of Midsommar, we've talked about Austin Powers before.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then we do, if you're around for, depending on what tier you can get access to all super old episodes of Chuddle the Pod, where we were kind of like a little bit different format. There's a lot of good stuff over there. So if you're looking for more Chuddle, get on it. And probably one of my favorite things is we get to name you and anoint you with a witch's name for joining the coven.
That's
so
right.
you will get anointed with that and be ever part of our Book of Shadows, if I may.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Containing witches' names. So thank you all for that. Love it if you jump in. If not, continue on with this episode. We love you just as much. You're all a club member no matter what. And we're going to go ahead and open up that goo book and officially begin tonight's meeting.
Give me that goo. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Sergio.
Let's do some goo lines.
National Treasure
These are
3,
long
Book
line
of
titles.
Shadows.
What?
National Treasure 3, Book of Shadows. I've been thinking about it since you said Book of Shadows. That was my first opportunity to say it.
I would have gone with Blair
Gotcha.
Witch 2, Book of Shadows.
Well, that's what it is. There is no National Treasure 3 until
There
it's
isn't?
Book of Shadow. No, National
Until
Treasure
it's
2
a
is
cross
Book of
over
Secrets.
into the Blair Witch universe. Yeah.
Oh.
And T2 Boss and T3 Boss.
Yeah, and T3 boss. They just really wanted to keep the acronyms the same. They liked it a lot. Our log line for this one: a couple travels to Northern Europe to visit a rural hometown's fabled Swedish midsummer. It says Midsummer Festival here. What begins as an idyllic retreat quickly devolves into an increasingly violent and bizarre competition at the hands of a pagan cult. I hate this.
Not very
logline.
good.
Yeah, it's not.
No, it is not good at really expressing what this movie is a journey. But
It makes it sound like they're like gladiator battles. It's an increasingly violent and bizarre competition. Makes it sound like it's like Mortal
competition.
Kombat.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Swedish Mortal
That's not
Kombat.
happening. They're not like forced into fighting or anything weird like that. It doesn't do it well.
It seems like traditional Midsummer that they're going to visit, but the truth is something more sinister is going on. Would be like a much better logline.
Yeah, a group of college students there's something else there. Go to a traditional Midsummer festival and discover there's more than meets the eye to the rituals type of something along those lines. I think would pull you in a little bit more, and then you get fucking hit with what you get hit with. Tagline: let the festivities begin. Let the festivals begin. We got a lot going on. There's that's our EDM festival over there. That's our fucking New Wave
Electric
festival.
Forest.
Let the festivities begin.
Great
there was
tagline.
Just the one for this one.
That's all it needs.
Perfect.
It's
that's
a
good.
really good tagline.
Let the festivities begin July 3rd, 2019 or whatever.
Ooh.
No thanks. All right, who made this one? If you're not aware yet, it is Ari Aster writing and directing this. So before this, you had Hereditary at this point. This is on the heels of Hereditary, and he was like
very
back
much
to back
so.
doing this shit. Starring Florence Pugh as Danny, Jack Rayner as Christian, Wilhelm Blomgren as Pele. William Jackson Harper as Josh, Will Poulter as Mark, Ella Torchia as Connie, Archie Madekwe as Simon. I have Isabel Grill as Maja, the young girl, because she plays an important part at one point. But there's a lot of other characters that kind of pop that the whole cult I didn't really include. But
it's a big
cast. They got a lot of people in there. But our biggest stars for this one are obviously Florence Pugh and Jack Rayner are our two main characters, and Florence Pugh is just fucking killing it in this.
Oh, powerhouse.
Amazing. This was the first time, I think the first time I saw her, definitely the first time I noticed her. And I saw this in theater, and she really struck me. I was like, absolutely, I've been a fan of hers ever since.
She sells it. She sells what she's selling. I'm buying
Despair, grief.
Yeah. Oof. It hits hard, and it's great.
Really
and
hard,
I think Jack Rayner's portrayal of Christian he does a great job playing that character. It's fantastic. All of them are really great. I just know William Jackson Harper
from the
fucking
Good
cheesy.
Place, right? Yeah.
Yes, Good Place. Totally.
That's where I saw him first, and I'm like, oh boy, you are. So maybe is this what you were doing right before?
Yes. I saw this before I saw The Good Place, but then hadn't seen it again until long after I had seen parts of The Good Place because my wife watched it. So when it wasn't until revisiting this that I was like, oh, how about that? This guy is that guy.
Right. No, he's great in it. I think everyone, Will Porter as like the fucking idiot,
dickhead, jester
dude, dickhead dude
great.
Is so great.
Yeah.
So great performances all around. Moving on.
Pele.
It's time for the gore.
Fatality.
Rating this on a scale of 1 to 10, Psycho to the Sadness, how gory is this film, gentlemen? Consistency and intensity. So intensity, I did put a 5. I put it up there because what you see just in the scope of it gets real intense and brutal real quick. I believe someone in our Discord, they posted in another Discord that had watched it for the first time. They threw up a little with one of the scenes. So
I think I forget what movie that I talked about because of, I think maybe it was Descent. It was the level of low lighting decreased my Gorometer score.
Yes,
and because everything in this movie is in goddamn broad daylight, opposite, where it's like you get every bit of like viscera and matter in this. Like it's beyond high def. This is I don't know.
When you get the gore, so that's why my consistency is lower.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.5 or something like that. Because I feel like I gave it a 7.5 because I feel like that's where it sits.
Yeah.
Just, I feel like that's what's good because of the intensity. God, the consistency isn't that much, but when you get hit with it, you get hit with it.
Yeah.
Because I would have gone with 2 there. I can go for the 5. I agree with everything you're saying, but I probably would go with a 2 for consistency. I just can't bring myself any higher, even though I hear what you're saying that the movie overall deserves a higher score.
I feel like I agree with both of you.
That's why I ambit a little.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, I mean, then great. That's
7.25.
Yeah, that would be the perfect average for it. Cool.
Who is the horror forward?
I got 4 questions for you, gentlemen. What kind of subgenre does this one belong to is our first. I said, okay, so as per listening to Ari Aster talk about this a bunch, he describes it as like this fairy tale movie.
Mm-hmm. And there's aspects of that I could definitely agree with, but
he's very kind of like, it's like, well, if I insist on calling it a horror, I guess it could be a horror. I'm like, it's a horror.
It's a horror
yeah,
movie.
he's like, it's not horror. It's a macabre fairy tale. It's like, guess what? A macabre fairy tale is a horror movie.
Is that?
Yeah. As much as you want to dance around it, you made another horror movie. It's fine.
Right.
So folk fairy tale horror.
I was going to say absolutely folk horror. Like this is right up there with like Wicker Man. I guess pagan horror. This is
breakup horror.
Breakup horror.
Yeah, breakup relationship.
Grief horror.
And then cult if you want
cult.
sub down it if you want to really
Oh yeah, cult.
grasp
Totally.
for things. There's cult stuff. So that's where it hits there. How are you going to watch this one? I said the atmosphere is going to be a little bit quiet. You're not going to want to be distracted and throwing things around. You're going to be tuned into the movie. Obviously with like people is fine. Sam saw it twice in the theater. I've seen it in the theater now and everything too.
Saw it in the theater too. Yeah.
But it's not a rollicking like wild time by any means, I don't think.
No. Theater watches were great because people, when the humor's in it, everybody laughs and it really like breaks the tension.
Mm-hmm.
I was happy to hear that when I experienced it.
Totally.
We'll talk about it with the
I don't want to
history.
say like movie heads. Like if you got a close knit of friends, like watch this with like not sleepover. That's not the right choice of words, but it's like, I don't know. It's not a group environment, but you select few. Your movie friends could hang out and watch Midsommar.
Sure. You want to, 'cause I think there's enough on the screen that you just
It's a fun one to appreciate as a film.
Attention.
Like if you like filmmaking, I think that's why you said movie friends are fun, because it's a fun one just to like appreciate the craft.
certainly. Now I think this one's interesting for it. Is it for beginners?
No.
Straight no.
I would not show someone who's getting into horror this movie. Partially because I kind of agree with Ari Aster in that it's not like a straight up horror movie. I know a lot of people that also really don't like this movie, and I think that those people probably just like traditional horror movies, which this is not.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, of course. Yeah.
So part of it is that as well, aside from, the 5-level intensity on the Gorometer.
Ross.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I mean, it technically, like on paper, it would be a beginner horror movie. It's a non sequitur. You don't have to really like know much about it to get into it. But I do agree. I think because it's not a traditional horror film, it's more of like a fable, or like it's laid out like that kind of structural format. I don't know. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, but also on the other caveat, if I had a friend of mine who was like, dude, I'm trying to get into like cult horror, or I'm trying to get into folk horror, this would be immediately on. I mean, it's folk horror is a kind of a short list of horror movies anyways, but this would be on the top tier of that. You know what I mean? Like if you're looking for like a specific flavor of ice cream, absolutely. But the whole genre, it would be like, figure some stuff out. Watch like Wicker Man, a few other ones before kind of getting
Right.
this.
I think, okay, for the most part, I agree with that. Maybe if you have some weird friend that's into like artsy movies that hasn't jumped into horror movie.
If they were more of a movie person and hadn't got into horror yet, this might be a good way, because it's not some splatter fest. It's like, see, they're good movies too.
Exactly. And then you could slowly bring them into the splatter festy stuff, because then you'll make your way there. If you like it or not, this would be a good dip your toe into it in that aspect. And do you think you should know anything about this movie before going into it? Anything going to benefit
I think you should know that it's going to be heavy, like just like prepare for an experience.
Yeah,
I think it's good
certainly
to be prepared for that.
Yes, I would absolutely agree with that, because I was not prepared for that.
And then we'll probably get to some other stuff with the Mothman.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I hear him out there. He's been out there the whole time we started this episode. Consistently. What is our harbinger of doom say? Any sort of trigger warnings? I mean, first, there is a quick emetophobe. There is a vomit one towards the end.
Yes.
Suicide.
Suicide.
Suicide
is
huge.
a very big component
Death.
in this. Death.
Grief, dealing with that grief. If you
Dealing with grief, yeah,
Yes.
because Florence Pugh's portrayal
performance,
is just
we'll talk about it.
is
Yes.
insane. Yeah,
It's we're all living in it right now. That's how powerful it is.
totally. Like it's like candy apple dipped in grief. Like this is if it is not your flavor of ice cream, you're gonna fucking hate this movie from Jump Street.
Yeah.
So so that would be, you got to be really prepared because you're gonna get some sweet, but you're definitely gonna have to choke down some sour on this as well, and that is drenched throughout the whole thing.
Kicks you in the teeth pretty early.
For sure. And if you have any questions about it, maybe you don't want to experience that yourself, want to work your way through it, head on through to this next part because we'll help you out. Spoiler zone. I heard a great comment the other day that someone was like, I heard that song come on and now they're always expecting me to say
really?
spoiler zone after that
Spoiler
moment. I was
zone.
like, oh, that's fun.
That is,
like
I
sweet.
love that.
Irreparably
Ingrained in
changing
brains.
the musical landscape forever.
Wow, never thought I would do it. With
Chuddle
this
the
very
Pod.
select fall of Chuddlers, I love it. You guys are the
But
best.
yeah, that's good.
IMDb behind the scenes, this one. I got 3 bits of trivia realistically here. I didn't grab much from it and just threw anything else into the general discussion. I feel like we're going to be talking general discussion stuff. And I think Sam and I both listened to some podcasts where we heard Ari Aster talking about a few things. So I'm sure we'll throw those bits of information as well. When the film was released in Sweden, rather than eliciting fear in the audience, many people laughed, which Sam and I mentioned people did here too. Many Swedish critics praised the film as an excellent black comedy, which
Wow.
I heard Aster saying that as
Ari
well.
Aster's, said he thought of it as a dark comedy as well,
Certainly.
which I don't see it that. I think there are funny moments, but I certainly don't think of this movie as a comedy. Like
It's a very hard push. It's a very black comedy if you want to do that. But there's comedic moments
It's
within
ridiculous.
it, but
Totally.
Oh yeah, for sure.
that are great, really good ones too. Despite the Swedish setting, it's shot in Hungary, so they were filming through like normal working conditions of like a normal 8-hour day, whatever it is, with the sunlight. They weren't playing with an actual all day sun, midnight sun stuff. And I thought this was funny because god damn it, I forget what I was listening to now. Another podcast. I don't know which
Bleep
one.
'em out.
I wish I could shout them out. Let's just say it was the Horror Bandwagon because I was listening to their newest one recently. I just think it's funny that like a lot of times when we talk about movies, I've noticed there's a lot of mentions of like, oh, they created some like new way to film this. They created some new I'm like, god damn, I feel like every movie has some new way that they're creating
New way
shit.
of
This
doing
one, they had lenses created for the film from Panavision. So like I think the cinematographer like had a good in with them. So for this and Hereditary, I heard Aster say that like that, they had our own like lenses created so that we could do this shit.
I know he said the cinematographer is one of his good friends from they went to AFI together.
Yes. Yeah. So love it. Love that work. Why did I pick this one? That was me over here. Cause I think I originally wanted to pick this late last year and we moved some things around to do something different there. And I ended up watching it on my own, the weekend of the Aster blasting with, I just went through, I think I started Midsommar, then I went Hereditary, and then I went Beau Was Afraid. And this one, out of that quick watch through of all those, always stuck out to me. And then I saw it in the IMAX fucking re-release, which was awesome. I was super excited for that because I know Sam said that he saw it in the theater when it first came out. Spoiling your history with it, I'm just fucking taking it from you. But
snatch it up.
Fuck. Damn it, I can't say it. No, so I think I was very excited for that. I remember because A24 was doing like this whole like re-release of their movies in IMAX or are in the movie,
like
something like that. And they mentioned Hereditary, and I was like, shit, I wish they were doing Midsommar. And then they did.
I think this was like a 5-year anniversary around their thing too.
And it was on the Midsommar date. So we saw that. I thought it was fun
And it
to
was
be
the
like,
director's cut, which was
we
cool.
were both watching it at the same time. So it was kind of like we were watching it together, which was kind of
Oh,
neat.
sure, yeah.
I thought about
Just in
that.
New York and Florida.
Yeah. So that's my history. I mean, I own the director's cut special edition thing. I bought that. I really dig on the film. I love a lot about it. The brightness of it. The very bright. I mean, that's the recurring thing in it. That's a super bright film.
Sunshine horror.
I had an idea like that for a horror film once when I was in film school. It was like an apocalypse film, but I was like, what if it's just like really bright all the time and like colorful and shit?
Yeah.
Be cool.
And I was like, that's why. No, I was like, you get me, Ari Aster. Midsommar, anyways. Sorry, Ross. How about you?
Man, I saw this in theaters. I did this as a double date with my wife, and this is it's a weird one. It's a really weird one. I think that like I didn't go back for the theater experience, but I have seen this a few more times. I'd probably say like maybe 3 or 4 times, something around those lines. But it's always after like in the same week that I watch Hereditary. Where it's like,
oh, interesting.
Yeah. So I'll be like, oh yeah. Oh shit. Yeah. I should probably watch Midsommar. And now it's kind of just getting into like, I'm probably just going to watch Midsommar and not Hereditary. You know what I mean? I feel like it's weird. It's like 2 horses neck and neck for me. And then like,
Sure.
Midsommar is kind of like leading the pack a little bit.
Sure. They'll probably go back and forth.
Right. They have very different, like, it depends on how, like, you just want to watch a dark movie versus if you want to watch a bright
watching
movie.
it. Yeah, exactly.
What I
what
I really appreciate about Aster's films is that like this one's fun just because there is so much stuff to look for in this movie in multiple watches that like I feel like it's like a Rubik's Cube of kind of just like I feel like I've seen a bunch of stuff and then there'll be something in the background that I'm like, oh shit. And then like it kind of not necessarily irreparably changes the viewing experience, but just adds to it. You know what I mean? It's really fun when you have a movie that's not built on like Easter eggs, but it's just like there's so much content and there's so much thought put behind everything in this movie.
There certainly is.
Sam, your history.
So
I
saw it in theaters. We already know that. Like opening weekend-ish, right? In there, it may have been the Monday after, and actually it was the Monday after. I know that for sure because
Monday man.
I've been going to see movies on these Mondays, and I just started a new job, which is still my current job. And I kind of work in a position that's like separate from everybody else. But it was my second week, and it was a staff meeting. In this movie, I had no idea how long it was. It kept going and going. I was like, I'm going to be late to this staff meeting. So like the last half hour, I had like anxiety about that on top of everything that was happening in the movie. Yeah. And I ended up missing the staff meeting and never going to one ever after that because I don't need to go to them. But also the movie just had a big effect on me. When Sam got home, I was just like sitting on the couch staring into space. She was like, what's going on? I was like, this movie I saw, it was really messed up. I was like, I don't, there's this actress, Florence Pugh. She's in this other movie called Fighting with My Family. Can we rent that so I can see her have a good time? So we rented that and watched that night.
That's beautiful.
Which is like a real life story about a Irish wrestling family or something. And then I did not see it again until a few weeks ago when it was in IMAX director's cut. And I was amazed at how much I remembered. It was like I remembered everything. And then I watched it again yesterday afternoon.
Nice.
And if anything, these rewatches have made me appreciate it even more, because the first time I just appreciated it because it really rocked the cockles in a bad way, but a good way, you know?
Yeah, of course.
And because of all these things we've been talking about, like, first of all, it's just a totally different perspective when you know what's going to happen. And then all the hidden things about the Holga culture and all that stuff is... So there's so much to get into.
There's a lot
if you
there.
want.
we'll get into it. Well, here's the thing. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the movie now. I tried to paint with some very broad strokes of the scenes, and we're going to open it up to let us talk about whatever we want that plays out through there.
Nice.
So this really opens up first with this beautiful kind of like picture, and that really tells us our story.
It's the whole
what is
movie.
going to happen in the movie. It's the whole movie there from the start to the end there. So that's something to like, you kind of look at and you're like, oh, this does look like a very beautiful, I don't know, traditional
like a European folk tapestry.
Tapestry. Oh, there's a lot going on here. I bet this says something about what's going on. But then when you see the movie, you understand more of it. Ross.
Oh, totally. Yeah, no, like when I was in the theater watching this, and you kind of just pan as it goes through the seasons, and you're just like, it's also that sun, that fucking sun face. Because you've got like the death one where like, okay, skulls,
happy.
It's, yeah, kind of. I mean, yes, like either forced happy or like, that's like if the,
I mean, we can talk about that face later in the movie too. I think it reappears.
Oh, totally.
Certainly does.
Yeah, it's like mugshot happy.
It's kind of like, am I happy? Maybe I'm happy. I don't know. I am
like
happy
somebody's
right
off
now.
screen pointing a gun.
Yes,
Shotgun
exactly.
wedding.
Shotgun wedding.
I'm so happy to be here. So that kind of is just a beautiful, just start off into it. But then after that, it takes the darkest turn of the movie here. It starts off right away.
God.
Is some of the most horrific stuff happening. So our main character, Danny, she's anxiously trying to contact her sister, Terry, who has ended up sending a cryptic email or a few emails suggesting that essentially she might end her life or something like that. And she maybe has a history of this. So,
and maybe is going to kill her parents too, is how it.
Yes.
Well, because the last thing is like, sorry, everything's dark or black. I'm taking mom and dad with me. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's worried about this, as she should be. So she calls up her boyfriend, Christian, but he's like at a restaurant or something with his group of friends.
So yeah, he's like a pizza joint or something like that.
Kind of dismissing Danny's worries when she calls, being like, you kind of get over anxious about this stuff. It's happened before.
And her sister does this
all the time. And she's bipolar, and it's really interesting way of showing the dichotomy of their relationship that fast. Is that because you have the complexity of Danny going through what appears to be through dialogue, yet another something going on with her family, and then having him, he picks up and then kind of like with his buddies, and they're all complaining about just like, you need to dump her. You've been complaining about this, like just sever the ties now, like get out of this thing. It's way too heavy for like, it's like too much drama, way too heavy for you. So it's like, yeah, it's just, it's weird to me that he's literally on the precipice of like leaving her as the introduction to his character.
Yes.
I think it's adds great nuance to everything that's happening.
Yes, totally.
That's my exact note here, is that this sets up how the relationship is and plays out and what we're playing on through the rest of the movie here. And I think it's great at that. And it is very relatable for a lot of people. Most people have been in some sort of situation, whether they are the Christian type or the Danny type in these situations. Being in a relationship
where one person really wants to be in it and the other person really probably doesn't, or certainly isn't as
doesn't end
interested
it when
as the
they
other
should,
person.
all the kind of stuff.
Right.
Well, it's
at
also,
this point too, that's like, as we go on, Christian's actions suck more and more, but this is still a very kind of relatable. He's not like the worst thing.
Well, it's also when you're dealing.
Well, and he's still, it's all just like weakness and selfishness. It's not like he's
right, exactly,
aggressive or vicious or.
And I think sometimes when you are dealing with a partner that is going through dramatic things like this as in a consistent manner, where it's like, it just shows how he's like checked out of it. Because like for us, seeing that email from Jump Street as the outside viewers, like that's fucking important. Like that is, oh fuck. You know what I mean? But like Chris is like, dude, your sister pulls this shit all the time. Like this is fucking like, don't even stress it. Like this shouldn't be, you've read it. Like he's read this, because I think that was part of the dialogue. It's like, I showed you this email. Like what the fuck? And he's like, don't even fucking worry about it. Like, because he's probably at a point where this has happened so many times for him. And then him not being associated with the figure, it's just like, just get over it kind of mentality.
Well, I think the conversation she has with her friend on the phone illustrates it even more because she's so desperate not to lose him. She's like, what if it's too much? What if it pushes him away? Da da da. And she's like, he should be fucking happy to be there for you. Like, it is not, it shouldn't be a burden for him. He should this should be what he's doing.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Which is true. But it's also, she likes him so much that she's like desperate to have him there before she really absolutely needs him there.
Yeah. Or she likes the idea of him or what their relationship is.
I was just going to say that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. It's more of the idea of having a partner versus the actual partner at hand.
Right.
And you get a lot of that context, like Sam said, through that phone call with her friend. And then Danny's repeatedly trying to contact her parents and sister, but receives no response. And then this is where we get the fucking...
Dude, that voicemail is so...
dramatic ass, slow ass, brutal scene of the police and firefighters busting their way.
It's like an alarm, but it's
house.
Like the way that the soundtrack bleeds into the fucking alarm that's going on at the same time is just, oh my God. I felt like I was in just like a waist high sludge the entire time. It just felt gross and weird. And like, cause a lot of it is just overhead shots too. Cause you have them like disconnecting the car part or turning the car off and then having those, but then it pans up to this upward shot of like watching, which I'm assuming is because you're following the hose go up through the house, but it's just,
isn't it one big tracking shot?
Yeah. And that was just fucking so brutal. And also goes back to the fact where like when Danny calls her parents and leaves that voicemail that like they're already dead. You know what I mean? Like you get like a glimpse of it because like her mother's like mouth is agape, but like then you can you can see the dad's chest breathe first. Like you see him like
so they might still be
a little
alive
bit before the cut.
So yeah, they were probably
they might still be alive but not conscious or something like that. But it's something like I specifically look for as well because it's
a few times I'm looking for breathing in this movie. We'll get to another one. So this is all so fucking brutal and heavy. And like Ross said, you get in the shot of the parents, they're dead. This ends with this just like slow crawl towards
this, like,
her sister
apparatus
with this fucking hose jammed into her mouth, duct tape taped all around her face. Disgusting looking, like just like her eyes are like bloodshot, like
eye popped.
She's clearly has like thrown
all
up.
over.
And it's just like going past. And this shot is so fucking beautiful because it's flying past, and then you see the fucking last email that she sent with the responses trying to get back.
The computer,
And then just
like,
goes
so
out.
She had done this pretty much immediately after sending that email, and then all the responses were unread. Is just fucking brutal, dude.
And then this part here. So I it feels heavy. I felt heavy watching it at the theater. I didn't know how it was going to affect me, but I'm sitting there with the fucking IMAX blasting this at me. Of Florence Pugh. Well, we do get the shot of Christian walking up and being like, oh, fuck, what am I about to have to deal with? And then her just crying.
So he had already got the phone call at the pizza place.
Yes.
Where he answers the phone and is just wailing and her singing no over and over again. And then he shows up there.
Yeah, then he shows up, and then it continues of her just
breaking down.
It's the most...
It's the most realistic.
It's the realistic
breakdown scene.
Yeah,
I've probably seen in a really, really, really long time.
I think we've all probably experienced
this hit home.
This or have seen someone go through something like this as well, and it's we've all heard those gasping noises that you fucking made, like that one, her to be able to pull that off. Now I'll say this too, that Ari Aster kept mentioning about Florence Pugh that she's like not like trained actor or anything like that. She's she's natural. It's like, God damn.
Yeah. Amazing. So the first time in theaters, I remember it just like being very emotional for me. Like, not I don't think I was crying or anything, but just being like all a big ball of anxiety. And so on the second watch, being kind of ready for it, I was okay. And then watching it by myself, I was like, it was bringing up a lot for me, and I was crying.
Right.
Totally.
Right.
Totally.
Like, I felt like I could have let myself go in the theater, but I held it back. But any other time, I'm just gonna be like, oh my god, it's brilliant. It is an absolutely brilliant scene because it just does this slow, kind of continues that slow push forward out her window into the black snow.
Yeah.
And then we just start our fucking opening credits with that music coming in. Like, Jesus Christ. I'm like, holy shit. First time I'm watching this, I'm like, what am I?
You know what's hilarious? Because it's almost like a
black comedy.
Black comedy. It's almost like a pump fake for the title card, because like you see the mosaic or like the painting, and then it opens up like in half, like almost like curtains. You know what I mean? Where I'm like, did I miss fucking it saying Midsommar or like this? And then having this as it pans through, and then that blackness, and then having it go through, you're just like, oh God, oh fuck. Like having something that heavy and then the title card, I'm like, I am in for a fucking ride.
Mm-hmm. Incredible.
And you are.
Yeah.
Certainly. This gives us it pretty much opens up to sometime later. I don't know how
like
much
spring,
exactly.
I guess. Yeah, but there's not really. I know that they leave in the end of June, because they'd be there from June to July, and it's a 9-day festival or something like that.
So whenever there.
Yeah, so this has got to be at least like maybe like late spring.
Yep. Well, Danny is still grieving, while Christian he's pretty emotionally distant. It seems he's checking in on her, letting her know they're going to a party. I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go check
second
out the party.
watch. Or third watch, did you notice the painting that she's laying?
Oh, the big old bear.
The bear with the woman.
Oh, I noticed it in the theater. Yeah, my second watch.
Yeah. I was like, that feels like a painting that's like symbolic.
Oh, I don't know about on my first watch. It was 5 years ago, so I'm
right.
Not,
that's hard to say.
I can't remember.
Yeah, there's so many.
Definitely this second watch. I was like,
absolutely. Like, there's so much shit in the background when you're watching this. You're like, oh god, oh shit, okay.
And I kind of knew that going into my second watch, so I was looking for stuff more than I would have.
Of course,
totally.
That is fun. That is the thing about this one here. There is shit that is going to be going on that I guarantee you did not see on the first time around. There's just no way to see everything.
Especially if you have no idea what's happening in the movie. You're so wrapped up in what's going to happen that you're not like looking for that stuff.
Yeah,
totally.
Certainly. So she's like, oh, I'll go to the party with you. This brings them to the party with Christian's friends discussing their upcoming trip to Sweden.
That she has no idea about.
Festival that she has no idea
about.
This is written so well. Like her downplaying it because she knows how it's going to make her the bad guy, and just
right in front of all the friends.
It's I think it's just written perfectly.
It's so weird to me that I hate awkwardness, and there's so many awkward scenes in this fucking movie, but I'm fine with, just because it's like, I feel like because I have a baseline of impending doom and dread from Jump Street, so like nothing's like spiking it.
You're like, after that opening, I'm like,
I'm just wallowing in it at this point.
Fuck.
Well, it is kind of interesting too, because like Christian, even like when saying like, hey, I'm just gonna go to this party for like 45 minutes, I'll be back. No, you don't need to go. Like, he's already trying to distance himself from her. Like, he's so disinterested about her going on the trip, to the party, all that kind of stuff, where it's like, I don't know. I feel like he's just in like ghost shell mode.
If what happened with her family hadn't happened, he probably would have broken up with her before going.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Like, I think, he would have been convinced
just like
enough. Now he feels
has
trapped
to be there. Yeah, exactly.
Frozen. His eyes are wide open. So this opens up this whole kind of like confrontation between the two about like, it's kind of weird to find. She's like, no, I'm not upset at you. It's just weird to find this out, that you're doing this without, really telling me you're discussing. And then well, I did tell you that the gaslighting really begins here.
Oh my God. It was like, well, I just decided today. She goes, you already have a fucking ticket. Like, how did you, that's no, like, you knew about this beforehand. Yeah.
But she's still apologizing and being like, I'm sorry. Like,
he says something about, because he is going to go. He says something about like, he's going to leave the apartment. Is that what it is or something? She's like, wait, I'm sorry. And immediately is like placating to try and keep him. So it's like both of them have this thing that keeps them together that is bad.
Yes.
Right. This does bring us to, I guess, Christian's apartment or the gang's apartment. The boys who are, I don't know if they're all living together, whatever it is.
I'm not sure. In the director's cut,
I think it's their apartment.
That apartment scene is a little extended because we see him invite her to
right. That happens in this moment too.
Yeah, but also what a bizarre.
I like it better in the theatrical with her showing up and him being like, "Oh, and guys,
I invited her, but she's not going to go."
But she's not coming. But
yeah,
she
it's
is
just like that. Yeah,
and it was your idea.
It's such as like
black comedy.
Grief has this weird it just has these sticky fingers of things where it's like, obviously she's grieving over the death of her family, which is making her entirely super codependent on Christian. Christian, because of this grief, feels like he's weighted down and can't move on from this relationship because he feels something terrible is going to happen. And in doing so is like promising her to go on trips, which is in effect affecting his entire friend group to have to play along. And they all do because of this grief. It's just like this.
Because they also, he even says like, you guys know what she's going through now. And they're like, oh yeah. No, cool. Yeah. I get it. But it's all very short and
So this scene opens up here, and
I love the way this is shot. The single, the camera just holds from the perspective of looking in at the living room.
Yes.
And you see Christian from the mirror, and it goes that way for a while through her whole entrance and everything. It's very cool.
That's the thing about this movie. It's a long movie, and Astor likes to hold on shots for a long time.
He
like
does.
That's the thing I do like about his films. He very much has a world created and has you live in it. And
absolutely.
I am enjoying living in this space, or the dread that it puts you into, the bad cockles.
Evil Wes Anderson.
Right, exactly. I mean, yeah, there you go. Evil Wes Anderson. Evil Wes Anderson.
Evil.
But yeah, this shot holds for a long time until we finally get something different when Danny arrives, essentially. And comes into the...
It's not till she... Because I noticed it on the third watch. She comes in and is standing there talking to them for a minute. It's not till she walks in to sit down that
we break from that.
Yeah.
And it's also like, you can also just tell the different layers of the characters, because what is it like? Mark immediately dismisses her and then is just like, just leaves.
He gets up and just leaves. He's like,
goes.
Hey, Christian, can I talk to you real quick? Is what he says. He's like, he makes it seem like he wants to show him something for studying, but I'm sure he's going to be bitching about.
I'm working on this paper. Can you proof this paper real quick, or whatever he says? And Josh, he just sits there and kind of like, I'm just going to keep reading my book. And then Danny sits down to talk to Pele.
I say it. So Pele? I think
Pele.
I mean, the Americans definitely say Pele or Pele sometimes, but it sounds like it's like le when they say it, like Pele.
So that's what I feel like I'm saying, but
he's like,
sure, I'm butchering it.
And it's
I'm sure I'm saying it wrong too.
And it's a great juxtaposition too, because like they're all either just like fucking whatever or just very against her going, and he's the only one who legitimately is like, I actually think this is going to be great for you. Like I'm genuinely excited that you're coming with us to this.
He's the only one who smiles at her and is making eye contact her with when she walks in.
Talks to her, which is like just like shows a general interest in her.
Yes,
finds out about it like her birthday, I think, at this point, and he's like, "Actually, I'm happy that you're coming." And but then he does like,
"I'm so sorry about the."
pushes like
this narrative,
his condolences on her.
Yeah,
my parents died, like, and really starts going, and this is like
I couldn't imagine. Well, actually, I can't imagine because I've lost both my parents. But she's like, "Oh, sorry." And
she can't handle it.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Yeah, and she gets up.
Which makes sense.
We also saw at home she took Ativan, which is a for anxiety. which I think she may have even taken before.
It was before the
news of her parents' death.
Okay.
Now, on further
This
watches
shot's
of
amazing
this,
as well.
do you think that Pele is being genuine, or because of this cult and that the people that they kind of bring into the cult, is it predatory?
Yes,
I think it's both. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love this transition.
Yes.
Of her getting up, opening the
going to
door
the
that
bathroom.
opens right into the bathroom,
and the
plane,
camera
and
goes
just,
up to like follow into the bathroom overhead, like moving through the wall, but the bathroom changes to the bathroom on the airplane,
and then she just goes and fucking cries it out real quick in there.
Oh yeah.
Like that
Just
that,
also hits
that moment too, and then like
a
after
ton of
that
bricks.
because then after, what hits me is that afterwards she just comes out like, I'm fine, nothing happened type of thing.
And
It's
just
like,
goes back to her seat.
you all have that moment where you have to just like go into the bathroom for a fucking second and bawl it out, and just like, you don't need anyone else to know. You just got to get this out real quick, and then you get back out there and keep fucking going again.
Yeah.
God damn, that's where it hits. That's where this movie, like, one of the things that hits so hard.
It's such an accurate depiction of going through grief. It's fucking insane.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love this transition too. This is another beautiful through a window transition. So we've had a few of those.
Out the
pushing
window,
through
right?
the windows.
That's a bit bizarre too, how it like the camera seems to go out the plane window and then catch turbulence.
I think, that's really our threshold crossed over into the total bizarre fairy tale
That's
world.
what I was thinking too, but then we very quickly get the upside down camera on the road thing, which is
I think that's part of it. That's one
also
of
the typical signal of that.
Yeah, I think this is our first one of that. This is really puts us into Sweden, I guess, and out of any sort of...
Oh my God, how are the
Way
babes
back.
so hot here?
He is such a good sleazeball.
Yes.
I love his character in this.
Good comic relief. Yeah, he's good. I like even the way he walks. Like he's got this funny, like open hipped, like cowboy walk kind of.
He's got that swagger
while he's vaping.
Yeah.
He's blowing some sweet clouds. So in the director's cut as well, there's a longer car ride scene of them talking and everything in here. But this one's kind of short enough. We learned basically it's a 4-hour drive to the first location. Then
you got to walk. Well, we
got this nice, beautiful upside down shots.
Yeah, the upside down shot of the Helsingland like banner. It goes under that and then flips back to right side up.
Yeah.
There's so many tracking shots in here. Like even on this last watch, when I really wanted to pay attention to it, I'd kind of get lost in the movie and be like, wait, was there a cut or has this all been one thing? Like,
right.
I mean, it's so amazingly made, the cinematography.
I agree. I concur. This leads them to meet with Ingmar in the countryside over here, who, he's going to offer them some psychedelic mushrooms. We also meet Connie and Simon. They're from London. And they're going to become part of our little group here.
All the younger people that have been traveling abroad come to this location, and they've brought guests with them.
Now there's a
trip out. Now, do you think they told Danny ahead of time?
What about all the other younger people that brought people to the village? What happened to those people?
To be totally honest, I think there's only this group is the full foreigners, right? Were there more?
There's at least 2 when they get welcomed in that we see, like when they actually make it to the village.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Maybe they leave early. Maybe they
were
not needed.
Out of there before anything
once
happened.
They figured out
bonus bodies.
Yeah, once they figured out we don't need them, they're like, you probably want to get out of here. Got them in the one-person truck and headed out.
Here's some bus fare. Go for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, do you think they told Danny about the mushroom trips and stuff? Because it all seems customary.
No. What do you mean?
Because it seems like the point.
I don't think any of them knew about the mushroom trip moment before they got there, minus Pele. Is that what you're asking? Sorry.
I don't think they were expecting it. Like you thought they all thought they were going to get there and eat mushrooms right away?
Maybe. I just thought he may have given them a little more like, hey, we're going to take hallucinogens. This is part of our culture type. Because it's all also in the drinks. And it's like mushrooms are kind of like sprinkled throughout most of this. And it seems like the entryway to this was that everybody who showed up to this location, everybody did mushrooms, hung out for a while, and then made their way over.
Well, that certainly does happen. I don't think our people knew that was going about it.
Okay, yeah.
Beforehand, I think they're just finding out and rolling with it right away. But Danny doesn't want to. She's like, I need a minute to.
You're definitely going to bring people who would be down with that type of thing.
Right. You know your people. But Danny's kind of like, I think I need a moment to like figure out what to do. And Christian's like,
Settle in.
I can wait. And then the
fucking awkward
Mark
stares they give
is
him.
It's like, man, we can't go on different trips. You have to like, come on, dude.
Yeah, if we do it at different times, there'll be different trips. And she's like,
that long
he's
stare.
like, well, do you want to wait for us then? And he starts to like put the bag away, and then he's like, no, it's fine. He's like, no,
she's like,
don't let Mark pressure you of all people. She's like, no, it'd be easier
fine.
this way or whatever
Let's
she
do it.
says.
Well, then that's when she's offered some tea. He's like, they made a nice tea if that'll help you go down. Pele offers that. So they're all tripping now. And this is
most accurate grief I've seen in a movie. Most accurate tripping I've seen in a movie.
Hands down. Absolutely. The visuals of mushroom tripping is done so well in this fucking movie. Like, it's so accurate.
Incredible.
Like the fact that the
trees,
did this win
grass,
any kind of
breathing.
awards for like effects? Because this should have.
Not to my knowledge.
This whole movie should have won an Oscar
by science.
Right. And also at this
Michael
point too,
Thomas for this one.
now we're talking about from this moment on, we're getting bright moments. There's only other couple dark scenes, but we're into our bright moments because we get this fun moment where they're all tripping out. And one of them mentions that it's 9 p.m. and the sun is still shining.
Yes.
I don't like
Mark
that.
is so funny throughout this whole scene.
He has one of my best things when the person walks by and it's
like,
I don't know who says it. Oh, fuck, it's a new person.
Yeah, exactly. I don't like that. Billy's like, no, people are good. But yeah,
I feel that.
Like, I relate to that. I love the one he's like, I think we should all lay down. And he lays down and he's like, oh, this feels so good. And he looks back and he's like, Josh, I need you to lay down with me. And I was like, that is also very, like, I've been around that plenty.
That's so wonderful and how it's just kind of perfectly expressed in this moment here. And Danny's kind of living in this moment, becoming one with the earth, having the grass like move through her.
Oh, yeah.
Pele's acting as a wonderful guide. Like,
yes.
The trees are breathing. She looks at the trees and you see the sort of bark moving and all the visuals you see.
But eventually gets a little bit too much for Danny. She starts having a little bit of a panic attack and she hears singing.
He says family.
So that
and
triggers.
The word family snaps her out of it.
Yeah.
She can't
and
deal
she
with that.
Stands up. Yeah.
It's a little tough. Here's that singing. Who is that singing? Her mom, her sister? I think is it supposed to be? I think one of them.
I think it's supposed to be one of them. I'm not sure. And Christian is like, hey, do you need me to go? She's like, no, I just kind of need to be alone. Or like, that was also a perfect, like, I know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
Don't touch me. Let me walk off by myself.
Yep.
Yeah. So she does that. She starts going away when she comes across the laughing group.
Oh my God.
That'd be the most terrifying.
They all look and start laughing. And they're just like, oh God, no, stop.
Because then she comes across Ingmar, right? And
yeah. Ingmar's like,
she's like, they're all laughing at me.
Yeah. He calls her and it kind of snaps her out for a second. And she says the thing about laughing. He's like, no, I'm sure they weren't. They were already laughing.
He said, come and meet my friends. And he like smiles and then like you get this
little bits of his
just
face
a little bit.
His smile's
Joker-esque
a little too big.
thing goes to his mouth. Yeah.
It reminds me of, it makes...
And then she marches to a bathroom and I'm like,
does the worst thing. No. Don't do it. You don't do this.
The face stretch reminds me of the crazy shit from Black Hole Sun. Where
I can see that, but like a muted version,
a way more subtler version,
a version where you're like, is that what they're doing?
You don't go into a pitch black room with a mirror when you are.
You don't go to look in a mirror.
You don't go to a mirror.
Don't look into a mirror.
Never look into a mirror.
It's a rule.
It's a rule.
And I don't think I noticed it the first time because I was so full of anxiety just knowing she was going to go look at herself in a mirror. But on the past two watches, initially there's like a
sister's
figure
face.
behind her.
It's her
is
sister
that what
with
it is?
the
The
thing
mask. I
coming out of
couldn't
her
tell what
mouth.
it was. Okay.
Yeah, that was fun in the theater too, because when that happens, people got all
sure.
scared by when I was saying it.
Yeah.
And she kind of like looks but doesn't see anything. But then she looks
does,
in the fucking mirror. And
Mirror.
obviously
And it just
freaks
cuts
out.
to her like running outside, freaking out. I'm like, yep.
Oh God.
So she kind of runs off into the woods and starts experiencing this vision of her dead family, essentially, like sitting on the couch, and her sister turns at her. And then it cuts us to the next day. Wakes up, the group continues their journey to the commune with Danny just kind of uneasy about what just happened, but
What the
trying to
fuck?
compose herself and make it way through.
She does a great job of not like making too big of a deal on her part, being like, oh, I'm so embarrassed, I can't believe it, but she's just like, all right, move on.
Move on. And that takes us through a beautiful, again, we just like work our way through this woods, these trails, all these like, beautiful.
It's very Yonic.
Yeah. It is, yes. It's fairy tale like.
Yes,
Absolutely.
they start coming across these beautiful yellow wildflowers on the trail on the
then
way
more and more
to
and
the
more.
opening. Yeah.
And that just opens up to this
Big
commune,
sun.
this
that
big
they
fucking
walk
open,
through.
this open field that we're in Hungary.
I really
So
need
they-
to go to Hungary in the spring.
Right?
Right.
So they built, obviously, all of this, all these buildings and everything so that they can, do what they needed to with it.
Right.
They needed to find
It looks
the field
gorgeous.
to do that. Yeah, it looks amazing.
The structure's amazing. The detailing in like the lodging area is like flabbergasting. It's just like all of the texture and the paint detail in all of these. Every single building is fucking wild. And the woodworking is also great.
And it's just accompanied with this beautiful, like, kind of folk fairy tale music as well.
Mm-hmm.
Sam?
I was shocked that the budget was only slightly higher for Hereditary, and that what he was finishing the final cut in the editing room and then like flying for location scouting before coming back for the premiere, before like going to start pre-production on like he went to the premiere of Hereditary and then started making this. Like
Yeah, this shit was like back to back.
could not
Like, it was
believe it.
insane.
That's wild.
The turnaround that was being done with this. And it was like, super hot, crazy, all sorts of production, all that fun stuff.
production
They had
stuff.
So we get this beautiful little like welcoming ceremony essentially. And at this moment, we also see this disfigured child briefly, real quick. Like, oh, okay.
Mm.
That's our first little something like, well, that's interesting.
Oh,
Yeah.
you've met Ruben.
Ruben.
The group are,
It's almost it's weird because like this is where it like leans into like the fairy tale esque because
It's
I'm
so
not gonna
over the top.
it's almost cartoonish.
Sure.
But it's
I mean, a lot of
not.
it is. It's played very real, but when you on paper, it's cartoonish.
Yes.
So that's where that weird sort of, I think, comedy comes into it. Sometimes it's like you can laugh at it or
well,
take
you
it
look
seriously.
when you look in this field and you look at some of these houses, they have like these weird fairy tale esque tilts to
Yes.
their roof. Like they look
Mhm.
like fantastical and all this kind of stuff to some extent. Whimsical. Everyone is in these like matching white outfits that are very
Yes, with like the different runes and stuff all over them.
runes and floral patterns and all that. Very cult like.
They're skirts
And
because of the hermaphroditic nature of nature.
something.
Yeah.
So group's all hanging out now, watching some of the cult members like dance around and everything. And one of them even kicks Christian as she dances by. So he's like, hey, can anyone join in this this little festivities? Pele's like, yeah.
You're
have fun.
American.
Like, you're like
just
an American.
jam
Just
yourself in there.
Yeah. So he goes off, and I think Mark decides to go, right, too.
Mhm.
Or
Yeah.
no. Or was it Josh? It might have been Josh.
Oh, probably Josh, because
he
he's
wanted to
he's the super
be a part of the
anthropological-minded one.
Mhm.
It's interesting. His character, just about everything he says or does, is just like purely
Analytical.
on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What the characters are so well defined. It's really good.
And at this point, so they run off, and Pele at this point gives Danny a drawing of her for her birthday and says, happy birthday. It's just something I like to do for people.
Mm-hmm.
And we learn here that Christian...
Sorry if it's inappropriate.
Yeah, Christian's forgot her birthday. So, she's like, thanks.
Which is also that, like... not cult leader, but just that, like, it's just kind of doubled down on them cult vibe. But it's all, like, especially the first watch, everything seems... Because I guess you're almost from the perspective of Danny, because it's like everything seems so fucking genuine coming from him, from like such a friendly aspect. And like, and obviously he still is genuine, but then when you realize what this cult is and who they accumulate as members, it makes this like even more just like, I don't know, sunshine grimy. You know what I mean? Because it's all smiles and shit, but you're just like, is he really... Yeah, sun grime. Where you're like, do you like? Is he doing this because he's trying to be nice and just wants you to be a part of this community, or is he like actively like, no, this is good. This is good. Here, I'm going to do this. Let me do a little bit of this.
After this happens here, we get Pele showing them around, introducing them to different buildings, explaining the Hargis history and customs. We see the yellow triangle building, mysterious.
We don't go in that one.
Nobody goes in that one.
And we're just going to ignore the bear that's here too. But check out this tapestry.
It's a bear.
It's a bear.
That got big laughs in the theater.
Love it. Yeah. And then the tapestry, which is there, which shows the story that Christian's going to follow if you watch that and its progression of what happens to him throughout this whole thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's the story of him and Maya.
Yes. The group takes a walk on the grounds to see the communal sleeping quarters, and this is adorned with all this kind of traditional artwork.
Cool ass, like big barn thing.
It's like this double story, big, wide open.
The certain ages sleep in here because they have these cycles of ages from like 18 to 36, right? 36 to 54 and 54 to 72.
All of this has
I don't know if I got the math right.
The relations to the number 9 as well.
9, yeah. This happens every 90 years, but not the Midsommar, just like this particular one where they do all the killing.
This ritual is something that happens every 90 years, but I'm assuming that like the festival
they still
itself,
do the May Queen and stuff, and Asaputa.
We'll
get to that.
Which is also kind of like the crazier.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting too, because it gives this aspect of like this sacrifice to nature that happens every 90 years, but shy of old age. Like there's no, like you could almost be an entire generation. You could actually probably be born and die by their law and never actually experience this festival.
Yeah, absolutely.
So like, you know what I mean? Which is kind of an interesting concept where it's like they're torchbearers for this thing that you may or may not get caught up in.
You never witness.
Never witness. Yeah.
I think I liked when he's explaining like through 18, you're this, then at this stage, you're a mentor or whatever. Then you're an elder. And Danny says, what happens after 72? And he kind of makes like a throat cut and thing with his tongue, and it's just like a joke, and they kind of giggle, but that is not a joke.
That leads us into our festival beginning in our first ceremony here. So a feast happens first. Group participates in this, where they notice these two elders at the head of the table kind of, I don't know, leading the ceremony. Or
because like when they sit, everyone sits. When they eat, everyone eats. So they're the starting catalyst of the whole dinner ritual.
This leads to keep it short with a lot of beautiful scenes. I love the cinematography here, but ultimately this is where these two elders are led up to a cliff where they perform a ritual, wiping bloody hands on a rune, and then one at a time they jump off that cliff
onto a rock below.
God.
The woman,
or you try to.
She does it right.
Well, she does it right because she actually like swan dives and actually
she goes and hits it and makes sure you get a nice clean hit on there.
Decides to like jackknife off of the cliff.
I think he got a little scaled.
And then, oh my God, him landing on both of his fucking legs was just like.
When it comes up to him and we see his face and how like bloody and popped it is, and then it goes down to the legs.
You see that manglage.
And
buddy.
this is all so bright. Like white,
So at
almost
this
like
moment-
hurts your eyes.
Yes, this is washed out. This is insanely bright. Because I mean, the whole scene that they're in with the cliffs are very bright. Cliffs, the rocks, all of that stuff. So when you see that red, that blood, it just fucking pops out there. And then all of our characters, all of our like foreigners, they're not wearing the white clothes, so they pop out as well, which is
Very much so.
Out, yeah.
Which is such
out.
a weird thing too, because they're like, there's certain elders like you didn't tell them what was going to happen, and like when the British couple are just fucking losing their shit while seeing this.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And yeah, sorry.
Oh, no. It's interesting to me because it seems like in certain dialogue that like, how did you not tell them that this was part of this thing? But then also nobody knew. So like, that's almost like a facade they had where they're like, you're just going to witness this regardless. And then like, we have the appearance of, oh my God, we're so sorry. Someone should have told you that this was going to happen.
It seems like Josh knew the idea of what it was.
He did.
Because he's
the
like,
night
you're
before,
gonna
he's like,
do
a real
what?
estate. He's like, it's
Yeah.
pretty real.
He's like, huh.
Christian's like, oh, you guys suck for not telling me. But he's like, and I Googled it, and it's the name of certain
rock
cliffs
face.
in
Yeah.
Sweden
Yes.
that were known for people jumping off to kill themselves, older people, when they, in times of famine or when they like were a burden. It wasn't just because they got to 72.
Too. Yeah, because there was a I forget the name. It's like a comedy, but there was ones with like
Yes. If you keep talking about
no, there's an entire like bit scene where they're like all talking about they're reach a certain age, they have to like jump off of this cliff because it's like time, resources, and things like that shouldn't be spent on you. It should be, you know, and they're like all of them just kind of like arguing why they couldn't jump off the cliff. But goddamn, I wonder. I'm also like super curious.
Find it. On the Wikipedia under popular culture references, there's two. There's Midsommar and then whatever you're talking about. But I can't figure out how to spell the name of this, whatever we're talking about. A step up.
Yes. But what I think I don't know, this entire sequence is just like insane. Also, do you think that they obviously they call the elder people in this cult? Do you think it is sacrificial jumping off the cliff every single time? Or do you think this is just like part of the ritual for Midsommar for that year because of the rituals that are already going on, that like they kind of just get to pick like a choose your own adventure?
I think every year if you're 72.
Because next
jump
year,
off
like,
it.
Dave and Jenny are going to have to go.
Yes.
Because they're reaching age too. I was wondering about that, but they just get conked in the head or something. Do you think they get the choice? Like, we'll let you jump off the thing. It doesn't really mean anything. But
well, it's such a
well,
it's such a different. It's also kind of a really interesting thing because there's like, it's almost like in a weird way like seppuku or things like that, where it's like it's ritualistic suicide versus what Danny had to experience, which is like ritualistic suicide in Western culture, like is not a thing, you know what I mean? Like in the Americas isn't a thing. And then in a lot of different cultures. So like witnessing voluntary suicide like this is got to be such like an insane thing for her to witness, especially in the throes of this kind of grief. Obviously you see it.
She handles it very well.
Very well.
Like it's one of the, it's a bit surprising actually, considering how realistically everything is played in this movie, that it seems like it should have been more difficult for her.
Yeah. Oh, totally. But I think also like having grief fatigue, I guess was the best way. I mean, like, I think that's why they almost grease you up with the crying on the airplane and stuff. I mean, obviously watching someone die as well, but like she's also been in this like rebound of like heavy, severe grief, agony, and then having to play it cool for months. So
well,
like
you see the first one and then you can look away for the second one, but she doesn't.
No, because I think part of her is now the allure of the cult, honestly, is getting like this is the first tendrils of this cult kind of like affecting her in a way. You know what I mean? Because like even the speech that the elder gives before she like storms off, where it's like being in like not to fear this, to be in control of this. Like this is something that you can
joy. It's a joy for them to do this.
Yes.
And it'll be a joy for me.
Yes.
But we haven't even mentioned the guy who broke his legs. How does he guy?
He gets,
Whack-a-mole?
hammer time.
Hammer
I'm
time.
expecting Ross to there he goes. Thanks. Yeah. Imagine that being your job, the town hammer.
Yeah. That's why I thought of
But
it.
it
like,
seems like maybe
Jack-
his family has to, because one guy does it, and then there's like 3 younger people that all take turns.
Yeah.
I was guessing
So maybe
they
he
were
does
the
it,
family.
and then those are the family or something. It's like,
Which would make
let
sense,
me get in
'cause,
there
like-
to whack it, make sure
Yeah.
it's good, and then you guys get the ceremonial wax.
Don't worry, this is my grandpa. Let me take care of
And
it.
we get to see some fucking head smashing, so that's some of the other nutso stuff.
So gooey,
I mean, Danny's
chunky.
horrified,
Practical
obviously,
effects
by
are real
this.
good.
Yeah.
Chunky salsa head smashing. It's like Gallagher. Gallagher to
I was
the
waiting for
degree.
Gallagher as well.
Yeah.
Christian and Josh are rationalizing this event as the cultural experience type of thing, while one of the villagers, this older woman, tries to explain the tradition, why it's okay. This is beautiful. The name will carry on. Nobody really dies. This kind of thing.
Oh
going
yeah,
on.
because she points to like a pregnant woman, and
She's like, that baby will take
somebody-
her name now, and
Yeah.
now she lives. So
Yeah.
after seeing
They're
this,
big nerd and Pharrell fans over there.
yeah.
Well, it's
Christian,
that naturistic like circle of life type thing where it's like, yeah, these people die, but these people are being born, and like it's more of this. It's this cycle. Like, be part of the cycle.
yeah, but it's like we're gonna also force the death, like
Yes.
it's not, yeah,
Yeah.
bring that about, and which is funny because if you look at Ari Aster talks a lot about where the inspiration, like how much research he did into festivities, festivals, any of that kind of stuff, traditions, and it seemed like it was just gathering from a lot of different sources. Some
Oh,
Swedish,
yeah.
Nordic,
No,
German,
I was gonna say,
and Austrian. He mentioned.
It's a stew.
It's a whole stew of stuff, and it seemed like there was a
marinated
lot
on.
of like kind of spiritual, religious types of things that he kind of borrowed from and bastardized and turned twisted. So he didn't want to mention them
He
specifically.
certainly said he felt like, he was like, I don't want to sully them. Because the on that one podcast, he was like, I don't want to sully them. And the guy was like, oh, you don't want to sully them talking about on a podcast? He was like, no, I don't want to sully them putting them in my movie.
So yeah, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that he borrowed from. So I mean, there's no way to look at this as being like, oh yeah, this is an accurate movie or anything like that. So that's not what it's meant to be.
Yeah.
Fairy tale again. So Christian, he's decided at this point to write his thesis on the Harga, and
What a
this causes
putz.
tension with Josh. And the extended director's cut, you get more of their kind of conflict about this going on and why it's kind of shitty what Christian's doing and all this.
Most of the scenes, I would say, with the exception of one big one, are just like relationship stuff. A lot of it's Danny and Christian, but some stuff like this as well. Just character-y stuff.
Feel like a lot of it really just like hammers in and makes Christian that much shittier and really nails in that gives you that much more reason to root for what happens to anyone type of thing.
I'm glad I saw the director's cut, but I do think I prefer the theatrical cut.
I need to watch the director's cut
Sometimes
again
it'd be like
after
that.
watching I just really need to think about it because when I watched it in the IMAX thing, it didn't feel exceptionally long. I enjoyed it, but
me neither. But being able to
I know what you mean.
watch them closely.
I mean, we'll talk about. I mean, he had the idea for like his original cut was almost 4 hours long or something.
Yeah, it was 3 hours and 45 minutes, and then he cut it down to 2:45.
Yeah,
and then they cut it to what it ended up being.
So
I would watch the 2:40. I would watch these longer versions
just to see, because he does claim that it is a little bit different of a
just to see them.
vision
But
of stuff.
I like the way relationships played out. That the fact that some of that stuff is left a mystery.
No, I like it. I think it for the cut for what it is. I think it works. I get it all. I think I didn't like learn anything different about relationship stuff. I got all of that from the theatrical
It's
cut.
not like Lawnmower Man and Lawnmower Man director's cut. Those are two different movies.
Absolutely.
Correct. I do like the addition of the ritual does explain one of the deaths later on, which is cool. But that's about it.
That's
so
like,
I like
Connie's
I like-
death, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, for the most part, I like some of the extended Danny Christian stuff, especially there's one by the lake scene while they're here. But like cutting off his invitation to come on the trip and us learning about it through the next scene, I much prefer that.
Yeah, I agree. Danny does decide, she starts packing up and she wants to leave, but Pele finds her and kind of sits with her, comforts her, and also makes her kind of confront what she's running from. She starts talking about death again. Mm-hmm. And
have you ever felt
goes on to that? Yeah.
Is it this part?
Well, I forget.
No, I think that's later. Because
could be. Because then it goes to the nighttime. Danny wakes up to find the group that she's with in the car leaving her, but we quickly learn that this is a dream. Like all this black smoke erupts from her mouth and she sees images. The head smash, her dead sister, like
at
all
the
sorts
rock.
of.
Oh, that's right, because it's her parents now and her sister at the rock.
Yeah. And the next morning we get Josh and Christian are focused on their thesis, interviewing members, studying their customs, going about doing all their stuff. Mark is being his normal kind of crude self. And well, at this point he needs to pee. He's been drinking some of the special brew and needs to go wee-wee. So he goes off. And it turns out Mark's urinating on this ancestral tree.
Now it looks like he's standing on the other side peeing into the grass when they actually come up and we actually get to Mark and he's like, oh, what? And like, it looks like, he's standing on the other side peeing away from it.
I think when they show was the cremation and then putting the ashes and things
throwing the ashes on the roots.
The roots where like you get the real like gravity of the situation. Like, oh wow, you literally just pissed on like all of these ancestors.
Yes. And again, it's when you know to look for it, because that wasn't until, because I just watched it recently on this third watch where I noticed them throwing the ashes on there, because otherwise it'd been 5 years. I wouldn't think to look for it.
But it's also what an insanely weird place to take a piss, especially because it's a giant open fucking field where like, wouldn't you go 30 more feet? No,
I don't think he would. I think he feels like this is a sex cult place and I can do whatever I want. I don't know. A little bit. Whatever. I don't know. I can't explain
it. I don't
it.
think they're going to do much. Look at him.
No, it looks, but also
intimidating.
It plays to his character immensely because he's just a buffoon.
And
Absolutely.
then the fact that he doesn't, he's just so like, what did I do wrong? I didn't do anything. What? It's just a stupid tree.
I love
it's like,
the guy screaming in Swedish. He's like,
he's upset.
Put away your dirty American dick.
So good. So good. So this is a beautiful, awesome scene of kind of him getting blown up at. But then at this moment, it also seems that we learn that Simon has already left because Connie's upset and she's trying to pack
all
up
of her shit. Yeah.
She's ready to rush out. And she runs into Danny and being like, we're leaving. And then one of the villagers comes up.
I love this. This is another big held shot.
Yes.
Big wide shot because you see the whole like barn building they live in. It works very well.
Yeah. And in this moment, one of the villagers comes up and they're like, oh, Simon left. There was only one room for one in the truck. He's going ahead to get the train ticket. And Connie's like, that's some really weird shit that I don't understand what the hell you're talking about. Why would he just leave? He wouldn't just leave.
Wouldn't have done that.
There's so many things. But, well, we don't break traffic laws. We just have to do it. This is the way we have to do it.
Yeah. She's like, what could I have said in his lap? And he's like, yes, I thought that too, but we don't break traffic laws.
And you're just like, what? All right.
Very disarming old man, but it's very odd shit going on. And then I love the cut that we go to next is Danny telling this to Christian. He's like, oh, really? Oh, man, that sucks. Oh, he did that? Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah,
and then just turns to the villager that he was talking to and goes back into the conversation that he was having, like so dismissive at that.
Like Danny realizes that Christian would immediately have done that.
Anthropological questions. Yeah.
Right,
and then
exactly.
Danny is just staring straight ahead and is like, seems like something you would have done.
She does that when they have dinner.
Is that later?
Coming up. Yeah. So at this point, Danny
this is
is pulled by one of them to help with cooking. Yes.
Oh, this is where we get the fur pie.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yeah, we get all sorts of like that whole subplot has been kind of going on with
Mm-hmm. That's right, because she puts the rune underneath his bed and shit like that, where they figure that. And Christian asks Pele, and he goes like, "No, this is like a love rune. Like she likes you."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Christian's aware of what's kind of going on with Maya the entire time.
He's like, "This is fun."
Absolutely. And at one point,
is encouraging.
Pele says to him, he's like, last year she went through like whatever ritual. And he's like, oh, okay. And she's like, that means she's been approved for mating. Yep. He's like, well, good for her.
Yep. Great. And is that when he learns that she's like 15 as well?
I don't know if he does, but she looks so young.
Yeah.
It's very uncomfortable.
That's how old I think she's supposed to be. The actress is 20.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, I would assume she's
I mean, obviously, but yeah, she is like 20.
Breasts later in the film.
We see a lot. So after all this happens, let's see. Okay, now Danny's pulled off to do some cooking. Josh is meeting with one of the elders about their sacred texts, the Ruby Brawl or whatever it's called. I could never.
Ruby Red.
Yeah, right.
No, that's.
I know it's not. We learn that they are written by an inbred child that they purposely inbreed and then interpreted by the elders.
They have hundreds of these.
Yeah, just
all the walls
are filled with them. Josh has to like take a photo. He's like, no, you can't take a photo.
I like how sweet that old man seems as he's explaining the book, though.
Totally,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes,
it's also just like, I don't know, that this is where like the Dutch angle in my brain started, where like you open up the book of like these scriptures basically for this cult, and then they're just finger paints, and not even like finger paint, like they're just smears on like weird, and then you kind of just have like, oh no, oh shit.
It's certainly a weird
it
thing.
It wasn't the ritual suicide.
Oh,
I love that.
Well, that I would have like. It's hundreds of years old.
It's probably just cultural.
It's cultural, and then
you're watching a horror movie, though. I mean,
oh no,
I'm just saying. I'm surprised that this is when you're like, maybe there's something going on here.
Oh no. As in, like, I knew that it was a cult, but in most like cult or folk horror films, there are rites, rituals, things like that are passed down from generation to generation, which you see with like the ritualistic suicide on the cliff. But then like they're holy books. This is the first time you see one that's like literally finger paints from an inbred kid. Like that's it. You know what I mean? Where it's like it adds to the level
unclouded mind.
It just almost adds to the lunacy of it, where it's not. They're not just bound by.
What if he? Sorry, I just like Josh is like, what if he dies? Do you just wait for another kid to be born with a unclouded mind? Right. It's like, no, we inbreed them on purpose.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
But
fantastic.
No, you're right. That moment does feel very upsetting, off-putting.
Yeah.
Just in like, again, like it is this all happy traditional culture, and that is important. But you're like, yeah, this does feel like
it's just another crazy tradition to me.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It
it's
is.
just every time. Well, it's like every time you get a little bit deeper, or you see the actual tradition, you're like, whoa, this is weird and crazy, because you start off and everyone's singing and it's happening. You're like, okay, this is weird, but it's not that bad. But you're like, wait, your first tradition is what? You're jumping off these things? Okay, that's crazy. Oh, okay, we're making pies together. Everything's fine and all this stuff. And then you find that, oh, wait, you guys are purposely inbreeding so that you...
Well, I like when she's making the pies, you hear a scream.
The scream, every character hears. It cuts to each character hearing a scream. That's
Josh hears
Connie.
it. Yeah, and Josh looks like, or not Josh, Mark hears it, and then Mark looks like he sees something. And then later he says something like how it looked like she was entering the sprinting Olympics. So I think he definitely saw her running there, which I only put together recently.
So what we learn happens to Connie is like, well, there's this other ritual that is in the director's cut of like this kid adorned in this like get up costume, whatever, that's going to be thrown into the river with a boulder.
On
and
his chest. Yeah.
I forget what's the exact reasoning for
Danny
stuff.
Danny stops
yeah,
it?
essentially.
That's what the ritual is supposed to be. It's like you wait until someone protests apparently, or maybe
Oh,
not.
you think that's what the intent of it was?
Could be. It just depends.
Because the
Maybe.
other thing is, could she really stop it,
No,
or was that part of it?
it's part
you
of
know?
it. It like
Yeah.
I think that
It's all
plays
part of
to
the
the
ruse.
the game of it. Like
The
maybe
ceremony.
someone will choose it, maybe someone will. Ultimately, the person's going in, whatever they choose, because that's what happens to Connie. The result of what would have been with this person, this kid, getting drowned.
But that was another new blood. So does that mean? Well, we'll get to that at the end because I have some questions there.
Sure. So this all kind of happens here. Sets up the baking.
So where Mark gets lured away from the table, right?
Well, what they got to get to the table. We might be about to get there.
We're at the table here. Danny's mentioning that she's still concerned about Simon gone without Connie.
Yeah.
No one else seems to have an issue with this. She mentions that she could see Christian probably doing that. That's when she makes this little comment. I was like, what? One of the villagers is very pissed still about the ancestral tree. I get that.
Oh,
I
moment.
love that.
fucking
It's
eye
like
daggers
somebody's still mad about his ancestral
good.
tree, and it cuts to him just
So
staring
funny.
right through him.
Uh-huh.
Great.
They all start to eat, and then Christian finds a pubic hair in his pie. And his drink, did you notice, is a little bit redder than the others?
It's
Oh, yeah.
some blood in it.
Oh. One of the villagers wants to show Mark something. He's like,
It's like
Oh,
I'll
hey,
show you.
Mark. Let me
Oh,
show you something.
I gotta go. She's gotta go show
she's
me.
gonna show me
And he's
I
been kind of
can-
like eyeing her, I think, the whole time.
this
since
whole
he's been
time.
there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So he runs off with her. This cuts to one of our, I think, our last nighttime moment of Josh sneaking out to take some pictures of the sacred
Yeah,
book,
Josh
the
sneaks
ruby
over
red.
to it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But he's caught by Mark.
By Mark.
It seems. What? Wait, Mark, come
Who's
on, close the door, man.
Fucking Donald Duck in it.
Yeah, he is. Mark,
Big
God
time.
damn it, put some pants on, bro.
The fuck, bro?
But, well, Mark ain't quite Mark, and bonk, we get Josh gets hit
Bonked
on the
on.
head with our bonking hammer.
Hammer from earlier.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
The bonking
It's-
hammer.
It fucking hits
It's
him well
hammer
enough
time?
that he ain't talking no more. He's just
No.
making
Nope.
grunt noises. God, that is like that. Oh,
Oof.
Down on the floor and flop like a fish.
It's
yeah,
the-
him just like
Well, it's that like when people get knocked out and it's that nasal like that kind of like, but just the grunty. Oh god, like it's like a.
but also like trying to scream or say something like, and it's like,
And that's Ruben in the Mark mask, right?
I think so.
I forget.
That's why I was getting the idea from the eyes, and you can kind of see under the mouth a little.
Yeah,
I think it was Ruben in the Mark mask.
totally.
Gotcha. This takes us into our May Queen dance. Started
With some more
that in a
mushrooms.
meeting of Christian with the woman in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Jenny joins up with the women, and she kind of learns about this traditional dance around the maypole. It's kind of this competition of endurance, and she participates. The participants drink this hallucinogenic tea, adding makes it nice and
Just a little
surreal and
bit.
fun. Gives you a little
It's
bit
just
of
like a little scoop. It's pretty clear compared to the.
that means you're fucking in it. You hit it.
Yeah.
And then Christian is brought into his room. This is where we get this like this beautiful black and white, all these like fucking like I don't know,
Bear on fire.
5x7 like little
that
pictures
bear on
the
fire
wall.
that he's staring at, I
Yeah.
love.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so rad looking.
Really fucking again, just another cool. It feels within the world, but then it also feels different from what we've seen before.
Mm-hmm.
Especially this is the weird slope.
Well, there's no color.
building.
It's depth of color compared.
Mhm.
Everything else is colorful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But well, we've learned Christian. He's been approved. He's been approved to mate with Maya.
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 It's spelled Masha, but it's Maya.
Yeah. Maya. He's a little weirded out by this, apparently, but he does say, "I think I ate one of her pubic hairs." And to which the woman replies, "It sounds probably right."
that sounds accurate.
And if I remember in the director's cut, this is a bit extended, and he
Yes.
says something about like I'm with Danny, and she's like she doesn't need to know about it. We'll make
Mhm.
sure, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He really gets entrapped to this whole thing. They drug him like.
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
I think there's like a level of free will, but the further the festival goes on, the more you realize that like now they're just cogs in this ritual. And that,
I mean,
like,
it's basically rape for him.
Oh,
They
certainly.
give him a lot of drugs.
Yes, 100%.
And they're a cult. They know how to manipulate these people into what they're doing. They've done this before. It's all part of it. So he's brought in there, but then he leaves to go watch the maypole dance. Eventually, he's given a drink here, some spring water, and some special properties.
His drink. So when they pour the drinks into the cups, when Danny gets one, the like jar they come out of is sort of like a deep yellow, but just when her little bit gets poured, it's still pretty clear. And his is taller and like really yellow. So I think when he gets it, it's
he gets
like
the juice.
Super crazy high dose. Yeah,
sure. I mean, because everyone starts tripping at this point. Danny keeps dipping. That's dancing and dipping.
Oh, dipping.
Nice.
Yeah, and eventually she ends up as the last one standing and becomes the new May Queen. And this scene is fucking beautiful. Like,
this
the whole
sequence is just
presentation of this
fucking amazing. But I think the thing that also got me into dark fairy tale buying the cult's potion type shit is that while she's going, it's the last 3 girls, is that they only are speaking sweet, like this.
Oh, she's like, they start speaking Swedish naturally.
Yes, they all start speaking Swedish naturally.
She's like, I don't know what you're saying, and then she says like, I don't know what you're saying in Swedish. Yeah.
And like, this is the first time in the movie for me that like you're seeing, oh fuck, maybe what they're doing, like maybe there is like actual magic here. Like maybe this ritual is actually going through. Like she's speaking a language she's never spoken before. I mean, she's high as shit on mushrooms, but also it's like, this is supernatural. This, like, to me,
I do
this
like
is like
to
where
imagine.
like, I don't know. It went into supernatural where you're like, I've never been so high on mushrooms that I've spoken a different language I didn't know.
Well, have you been around someone? Have you been speaking a different language?
In that language, like in that country for a week beforehand?
I do like to imagine that, like, you take an outside perspective, somebody who's not stoned out of their mind looking at her and she's not talking
like,
to them. She's just like making it up. Yeah. Thinking she's doing perfect. Yeah.
But I know what you're saying, Ross.
I understand completely. Well, there's another moment coming up. I'll mention it. So at this point, she's paraded around. This is all very beautiful stuff while she watches Christian
again, all
stand
the
alone,
tripping stuff, the trees in the background when she
breathing
wins,
flowers.
Yeah. Now
when she actually wins and they all put their hands up and wave to clap, and it's all like sort of blurry waves around their motion hands, and like gray Christian is just sitting there with his head down.
Oh god. Now, question, is this the part where they start like parading her around with all of the flowers and stuff? Now, in the background on the tree line is the superimposed face of her sister.
Correct.
Okay, yeah. That.
Oh man, I didn't notice that.
You've never seen that? Oh shit!
Oh my god, dude, it's fuck. I caught it in the theater the first time around.
For you. Don't worry,
but just by happenstance, because like you're going through, and then like she's being paraded around, and then it's just like this like tree face.
It's as she's being held up on the platform thing,
and it's her dead sisters with the mask instrument and everything. Moment. Oh, it's brutal, dude.
It's really cool. So like this whole thing, and that's like whereas like Christian's by himself and she's being like accepted into this group and this new family, and almost leaving Christian behind her. Yeah, just
because like Peel like kisses her on the lips and
gets
stuff
taken
like
to
that
the carriage, right? Oh yeah.
Well, first we get carried to the dinner table.
Oh, that's first. Okay.
Yes, before we get carried out.
Oh my god, when Christian is sitting down at the table, because obviously she starts, which causes everybody else to start. He's like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm so confused. And they're like, shut up.
The guy claps in his face. He's like, oh my god,
why? I'm so high right now. Oh
He's
god,
so like sad and like confused. So it's like, oh
so
my god,
messed up. I love the breathing flower on her crown.
That constant, this is all happening here. So in this photo, I don't think you can see right here.
There.
That's an eyeball. That's an eyeball. That's a nose. Do you see the face?
I see that there's something going on there,
And
but
that's
I
like
can't.
where the I'm pointing at it to
here
you. Is like the hose,
mask, the hose leading to her. So that's going on in this moment here. Yeah.
Mm.
I noticed that the first time I saw it too. I was like,
Holy
fuck.
shit.
yeah. Like I was like, there's a lot going on in this movie. I was like, I knew.
I think I don't know if I'd ever noticed that without being told.
That's one of the So that's one
I
of the
don't
other
think my
moments
pattern recognition would pick that up.
that she makes her face her way into here. So I love that shit. There's just so much of that
Me
in
too.
here. And so, okay, she's being paraded here. Image of her sister. She's brought to this long table and banquet where she continues to trip out, kind of becomes one with like her plant chair. Really fucking cool moment.
Oh my God.
Christian's having a really bad trip at this point. He gets brought in, and then she's taken away at this point in this carriage to perform, I don't know, this harvest ceremony or whatever it is, bearing the meats and stuff.
Bury the seeds and the meat and the eggs and the something
Meanwhile, Christian, he's led to a ritualistic sexual ceremony with Maya, surrounded by the commune's women who chant and mimic the sexual
I didn't
acts.
count, but it's got to be 9 women, right?
You know, that's a good point. I would assume it has to be, right?
Right.
Watch it
This
be like
is-
8 or 10.
I'll triple down on what you were saying, Sam. Like this is like it's definitely sexual assault. Like it's him like kind of just flabbergasted, like what's going on. He's like led to this woman, and then like
they change him.
Oh God! I mean, and then like getting to the point where like,
It's
what's her
12
name?
women.
Yeah, it's 12 women. Okay, but one of them goes behind him
So
and
much
is
for that.
pushing his ass into her.
Yeah.
And
Before he goes in, he blows the smoke in his face for virility, like that's some other drug that he's hopping
probably
up on.
puffer fish or something insane.
Yep, they lead him into it. It's all yes.
It's so yeah.
Now,
Forceful on him.
when the woman that comes down puts her face down in Maya's hand and starts singing like whatever she's doing, whole theater was laughing. Like like somebody started laughing and then just everybody started laughing. Nobody could take that seriously. And I remember people laughing during that scene my first time in theaters.
Sure. Maybe there were awkward laughs and that kind of spurred things. I don't remember.
It is because it's just strange. It's also just strange. Like you're watching, you can't help but like
giggle.
awkward laugh just to
You're like all this. There's a lot of naked bodies up here.
a lot of naked bodies.
Giggle.
They're all kind of looking at each other. It's doing it
And you see
communally
Christian's
all at the
ween.
same time.
I mean, you get full dongle. Like
Oh yeah.
Full
Right in there.
dongle, full man
Which is
hands.
great.
If this movie's missing anything, it's a dong ripping.
it's true.
Oh, true.
That's true. Well, shout out to Chris. We'll talk about it in a moment, actually. Here, okay. So this all happens while Danny's doing her ceremony, but she comes back and she hears some commotion going on. She's like, "What the fuck is that?" They're like, "That's not for you. You don't want to check that out."
So
Come
one of
with
the things we haven't really mentioned is like how they all communally go through emotions together or process things. Like during the ritual suicides, when the guy was in pain, they were all jerking their bodies and throwing themselves in pain. Here, all these women seem to be going through sexual pleasures with
Together.
her.
And I think
we're
it's
about to get another one.
a huge one. I think the one that's coming up is going to solidify it for Danny, where it's like the idea of this entire community is based on never doing really anything alone. Like every child that's born is raised by the entire community. Anytime that there's like an emotional response, everybody in the community is parroting what you're doing. So like,
there was a great, sorry, keep going.
No, go.
Okay. There is a moment, just like a small moment that we saw earlier when we first see the barn. There's a woman rocking a baby and singing to it, and she's got like, I don't know, 2 women on each side with her, and they're all rocking and singing and looking at the baby. So it's just like one of those little background things that is part of the communal process of things. And we're past the dinner table, right? Because she has to eat that fish then, right?
Oh, yeah. I skipped that.
Also, the lady who gives it to her says something about her being, she's like, you're family now. We're all family now. and it's not triggering or anything for her. She's just there and part of it.
Exactly.
So again, it speaks to the
wanting of that.
She discovers what is going on. This is where we get her being very sick from what she sees of Christian banging away.
She sees Christian
throws up.
getting gang raped, and this is a betrayal of trust.
Yeah. And
because without knowing that he's like super doped up, she basically looks through a keyhole.
It just looks like,
and he's just
totally,
and Christian is just plowing a 15-year-old surrounded by nude women. So like he's
I mean, that's all you need. Yeah, it's hard to explain that away. No matter what. I was tripping. Sure. Okay. Yeah, you were tripping into that. Won't. So Christian,
what, you tripped, fell, landed in her clit? Sorry.
Yeah. Eventually, this leads to all the women, like she freaks out and all the women kind of grab Danny, carry her away to that communal bedroom area. She starts crying. They start crying. She starts screaming. They start screaming. They all start just like kind of like doing this.
It's so
like emotional heaving
it's
together.
So haunting.
Yeah.
It's haunting. It's, oh my God.
But also like at the same time, almost like cathartic. And like,
of course.
And you can see Danny seeing that. Where like she's unloading all of this shit onto these people and they're reciprocating it. And it's the first time in this entire film that she's not talked down to, dissuaded, had to hide it, so she's just in it. And with
she's
these
being
women
held and comforted and living in this pain they're experiencing it with her.
Yeah.
And just being able to get it out.
You can see her realize it, kind of start to test it, and then really just let go.
God,
it's first theater watch, people laughed during this part as well. This theater watch, nobody was laughing at this part. Everybody was just like...
Yeah, I don't think... At this part, I think most of the people in mine had seen it. I think there was a guy next to me that was like... During the sex part, it was like, like all squiggly looking away and stuff. So I do love this part where Christian finishes and gets some major post-nut clarity. And just is like,
he's freaking out.
Whoa. What again? Freaks out, runs around frantic, complete butt ass naked.
Bloody wiener.
So originally he was supposed to put that robe back on, but the actor who plays Christian was like, I got to do it butt ass naked. That's the way to do it. Like we see that's the most vulnerable way. He's like, you see so many horror movies where like you get like a naked woman running around and then gets offed. Let's do that with a man. Let's go.
Respect.
So, and honestly, given the state of Christian, it would make sense for him to just run off naked.
Yeah. It'd
be more questionable for him to grab a robe.
It does give me like
the reality of the character.
A hint of like early cops on like a dude nude on PCP running around having to get tased by 15 police officers. Like that's where I'm like, this guy is fucking, he's just nutted. He's fucking out of his goddamn mind. He's like, he has no idea what's like, reality's just gone for him and he's just buck ass naked running around.
Maya's leaning back, rolling around like, I can feel it inside me. I can feel the baby.
Oh yeah, that's good. It gets like if it wasn't weird and creepy enough already, she's like, has her knees back and is like,
because earlier when Christian asked if incest was a problem, they were like, well, we try and like, keep the bloodline separate and we will mate with outsiders to like avoid those
problems.
I
think Mark was originally going to be part of this plan too, to mate with that other girl, but he fucked up by peeing on the tree.
Oh, yeah.
And then he would have been used in his normal way, but well, that's all coming up here. So we get this. He runs around, and this is when he first hears Danny and the women cry, and he's like, I don't want to go in that building. And then runs another way. He discovers a foot buried in the garden. I think that's Josh's foot.
Yes, that's Josh's foot. He's like planted it back to the earth.
The only black person there.
Right. And then he runs into a small barn and finds Simon. Simon's all hung up about something.
Ross, what is this called?
It's a blood eagle. It's a blood eagle. And I, through back in college when I was in art history class, I've seen a bunch of illustrated depictions of blood eagles before. I have never seen one on film, and my fucking mind was blown. because like this is
wild.
I literally was like, oh my God, is that a fucking blood eagle? Like I'm like hitting my wife on the shoulder going like, it's a blood eagle. That's a fucking blood eagle. And she's like, look at me going like, you're a fucking psycho. What are you doing? Like, no, it's like this. It's a method of execution. It's fucking wild.
So this is the other moment I'm looking for. I'm like, he's breathing, right?
Yes, he's.
Oh yes.
No, okay. So the entire process of a blood eagle, if I'm not mistaken, and don't hold this as you basically remove the skin and the back part of the sides of the rib cage off of a living human being, and then you pull their lungs up behind them and as like wings, so they're suspended, and then the person dies slowly, but you can literally see their lungs expand and contract. Yeah.
But you're absolutely right, Brian. I don't know how I did not think of this scene. I was like, what other scene would you be looking for somebody to breathe? But I guess it's because the lungs were outside the body. I wasn't like thinking about it.
So this is obviously very shocking. Christian kind of turns away and we get one of the villagers behind him and kind of
I really like how this is done. So Christian like
pops him.
Starts to like go under Simon to look at him, and we see his eyeballs have been removed. He's got these yellow flowers in him, and so Christian's kind of like looking straight up to look at Simon, and then he puts his head back down to look straight, and that guy's waiting there, and just again the camera work is
nice.
Love it.
No, it's great. This leads us to, I love this moment of Christian losing consciousness and regaining consciousness of like one at a time, his like eyelids.
Oh yeah, how they get pressed down.
Yeah, pressed down and then opened up. He's told he's paralyzed, unable to speak or move. The Harga prepare the final ceremony, which involves 9 sacrifices, 4 outsiders, 4 members, and 1 chosen by the May Queen.
Yeah,
she can choose an outsider or one of the people. You
and
got a question?
Just sitting there frowning.
Yeah, this is Danny
scowling and frowning.
She's just it's just this. Yeah, I mean, like the grief has now completely consumed her. It's just this like, and it's such an insane juxtaposition of having her with this level of despair and distraught, covered with some of the most beautiful and colorful flowers. It's so...
I want a button up shirt that is the May Queen dress so bad.
Hell yeah, man. We'll figure it out. We'll get one. And so this whole scene is just like beautifully shot with just like this like insane like premise and like horrific stuff that's going on behind it, all these sacrifices, dead people and everything. What is your question about this, like, Sam? Did you say you had something? Or?
The 2 Horga? What is it?
Harga.
The two like tribute ones.
Yes.
Are those representations of the old people who already died?
Yes.
Okay. That was my question.
Because they burn their bodies or whatever.
Right, and threw their ashes on the tree.
That's what that is. So we get this whole procession of kind of Danny overwhelmed with emotions, and ultimately she chooses Christian as the final sacrifice. We learn he's still paralyzed, and he gets sewn into the body of a bear. We see that bear from earlier, dead and kind of opened up. And there's this nice little lesson with the young kids of how to properly remove all that. And sew him in there, and Christian's just got this perfect like scared puppy dog face this whole time of like while all of this is
just
going
staring
on,
straight ahead, just
can't do anything
eye
else.
Acting,
acting the shit out of it.
Now, am I crazy, or in the director's cut did put him on the table and break his legs to like before starting putting him in?
That does sound familiar.
Or is that just like one of those in my head things that never happened?
Now that you said that, if it sounds familiar, I hope it did. It very well could have. Maybe they broke. Right. I think they did. That sounds really familiar. Anyway, that could have happened. So they get him in there all ready to go. They start placing all the bodies. This is just big, beautiful shots of just
him sewn up in that bear is one of the all-time.
Is wild. I also liked Mark as
that and the May Queen, both iconic.
Yeah. Mark the Fool basically as like the stuffed straw man with just his skin was also just like, ugh.
Mark's skin.
And the jester hat.
Yes, and the jester hat. And this is where you see Connie getting dragged out.
Those kids are playing Skin the Fool. There's a whole fun little thing about that.
Skin the Fool. Yeah, the kids are as a kids game.
I never put that together. That is great.
Yeah.
Because the fool gets skinned.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Right. And they bring Connie's drowned body from out and into the
So in the director's cut, you see the ritual that pertains, because then you're like, oh, Connie's wearing the suit the kid was,
and
that
she's
makes sense.
Wet.
That's what happened to her. Temple set on fire. It all gets
Ingmar and guy who was pissed about peeing on the tree are in there alive, and they take the sap of the yew tree to not feel any pain. But I guess it doesn't really work.
Because they definitely do.
Yeah. He's like, oh.
And if that psychic link is connected, as that building goes up,
a lot more you.
Right. Well, because and you can obviously tell from everybody else out there feels it, because the second that thing goes up, they're all like screaming and writhing.
Oh yeah,
and
again, more
jumping
of that
around.
Yeah.
Yep. That continues on. Then we get to this beautiful shot of Danny just sitting there, just kind of in horror and grief, but slowly she begins to smile. And it just slowly starts to grow as the temple burns down, leaving her with her new family.
Yeah. And I like the fact that she chooses
out of that relationship.
Yes.
Shake it off.
Yeah, shake it off.
Get rid of that grief.
And I think it's a really interesting way of bringing her into the fold of the cult, as well as that she had to actively choose someone to die. So, and then in choosing Christian kind of diminishes her old life, but also being like, okay, well, I can't, I'm not going to leave this unscathed. I've now picked someone to die. So
yeah,
I'm now part of this.
Oh, she's totally part of it. Christian sucks, but he did not deserve what he got. But I think it's part of the over-the-topness of the movie. And if you think of it as a fable, it totally works. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Right. Yep. Yeah. And I mean, that's how Ari Aster has seen it, or says he places it as this kind of fairy tale, fun little cathartic relationship movie. He wrote it in the end of a bad relationship type of thing. Mm-hmm. So that it's a lot of that is
he's going through a breakup, right?
Yeah. So then if you look, but if you realistically look at it, this cult's terrible. They're killing people and
horrible
innocent people. It's not
manipulated
a good thing.
Everything for her to be into here. She's brainwashed.
She goes from one codependent relationship to another.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Essentially.
Like a codependent web
of.
But they want her.
Right.
She wasn't wanted before.
Now, there is this interesting article, and I'm not really going to get into it, but it was on Collider, and it was people still don't realize Midsommar is about white supremacy, and it goes into a whole bunch about that. Now, I mentioned this to Sam. I'm like, where I want Ari Aster to speak on this in some aspect of what the kind of article deals and goes into. And I finally heard an interview where he kind of mentioned something that alludes to this kind of premise behind it. You look at some of the things in the director's cut with I believe it's Josh carries around the runic book or whatever, and mentions ties of the runic stones to Nazis and how much they liked it. Yep. You look at the world of I think in the article they mentioned when Josh asks questions, he's kind of abruptly given answers or kind of put off a little bit, as opposed to when Christian wants to get into the thesis, he's a little bit more welcomed in real quickly because he's white type of thing is what they. So those are just the basics of what they put in there, and I think they link to something that Ari Aster also said. But
I would say there might be some themes and undertones. It might, but that's still not about it. Josh is a side character. You know what I mean? The movie itself is not. I would say it's about grief and relationships.
Just the fact of what's a white supremacist groups do to people in positions where they're down, depressed, and in grief, of offering that support and family. It's just looking at that aspect of it and just talking to that. It's just something in there I came across. You can look into that, guys, if you want. Do you have any final thoughts before we get into our crematorium?
No, it was just
Hammer time?
the Christian thing.
Hammer time. All right. In the crematorium, we got a bunch of questions to ask each other. The first one is, would we survive this festival? I mean, I guess the big question to ask is, do you think we're being killed and sacrificed, or are they trying to absorb us into the cult?
Ooh.
That is a great question.
Yeah,
I
don't.
So it's us now, right? Because if it's college age me, I'm getting killed and sacrificed.
Oh, that's a really good point. Because
some fat clouds with your vape pen,
pissing on some ancestral trees.
On trees.
Yeah, pissing on trees. Sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think, to be totally honest with you, because of how isolated you are in Midsommar and the amount of people that are there, I would find it incredibly difficult to get out of that scenario if they wanted you dead.
Sure. I mean, sure. Like just how isolated, because you don't know how to get out of where you were, essentially, so you rely on them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like maybe we'd be released, like the same, like you said, what happened to those kind of other people. They're just released from here, because they'd be like, all right, let's get rid of the guys that are just like doing dick and fart jokes. Like, I mean, they're fine. They're not like kill worthy. Let's just like get them out of here.
I guess that's actually a really good point too, because if it's a 9-day festival, that's actually really good. How many days in the 9-day festival do you think we'd get to? Because I feel that like because day 9 is the burning of everything down. They're doing the final ritual and things like that. Mm-hmm. And the murders happen between like, I don't know, day like 4 through 7, maybe. So it's like, maybe we just get invited and they like us too much. So they kick us out on day 3, like, listen, the rest of this is kind of like in family stuff. So come back.
You got to go.
Come back next year. Going to be way less crazy.
Come back in 7 days.
Right. We'll be cleaning up. It'll be great. Okay. So I think that's what's going to happen. That's my scenario.
They just like us so much they tell us to get out of there.
Yep. Get out of there, you scams.
You guys are going to want to get out of here. We got some family stuff to take care of. Like Ross says, come back next year. A lot less pressure.
Yeah.
You can stay the whole time.
You can come back every year for the rest of your life.
You should be fine.
Although I guess if
you might still witness some weird shit, but you're not going to be, I don't think, sacrificed.
Sacrificed, right. I don't think there's
going to have to
sacrifices.
Deal with that, which...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that'll get you on that Nirvana level they're on. So do you want more goo with this? I'm okay with what we get. I think it works.
I would have been more than happy with it had I not thought of a dick ripping. A good dick rip.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, so besides Sam's pecker pull.
Especially because there's so much sexual stuff in this movie.
Mm-hmm. That's true. No, I think usually I would try to find some extra gore spot. I mean, the dick ripping, honestly, now that you brought it up, is now stuck in my head. But
I would love a ball barfer break off.
Oh, yeah. Good old Bryan. No, but I agree. I think what's great about ritual movies, things like this, where it's like it's just a nice finite number. And I think what you get gore wise with most of these, where it's either, I mean, you get to see aftermath, you get to see during. Oh, especially that hammer to a head. Are you kidding me? That is very impactful.
During math, pre-math.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whole bunch of pre-math.
Yeah.
Most of the movie's pre-math. Mm-hmm. Sorry. So, okay, great. I think we're kind of all there about there. Villain level. What is our villain? The cult themselves? This whole collective
I'd say so.
Cult. So power level, iconography. I mean, realistically, in the scope of what their aim is to do, they're pretty powerful, but they're not like cosmically powerful. They're not, I don't think.
I guess it's if you buy into some of the scenes that allude to the fact that maybe they're not full of shit. You know what I mean? Like the being able to speak different languages and all the other. Because I mean, a lot of this you could explain through just because of the massive amount of hallucinogens and drugs that they're fueling with everybody. But there are some certain scenes that you're witnessing that breach into the supernatural. But I don't think that they're like Dagon priest level of like when we're
Well, like
I
you
never
said,
thought of
also
them as
you're in the
fully
middle
supernatural.
of nowhere. Like,
yeah,
there's a ton of them. You're in the middle of nowhere. What are you gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. There is an interesting scene that almost happened that was in the trailer, apparently, that was in the movie or the director's cut. And it's the moment, it's what you see in the trailer is a pair of feet lifting off the ground and levitating into the air. Yeah. And it's supposed to be Christian's feet in that moment when before the sex
when he's
scene.
tripping balls and goes to the sex house.
But it's supposed to only have been like kind of like how he's feeling, like he's tripping balls and representation, like he's floating towards it and not actually what's happening. Right. So, but anyway, power level, what? 3.5.
I was going to say 2.5.
Let's do 3.
3?
All right.
Sounds good. Iconography. I mean, they're just kind of a cult, but
it's tough. Do you count the bear and the May Queen into that?
That's part of their
thing.
Their culture. That's part of their cult.
Guys,
ultimately.
I gotta give it at least. It's like a 4.5 for me because
I'd give it a 5 if you include those.
Because
I do include them.
Let's do 5. Let's do it a 5. Yeah, because if that's included,
you get a 5 there and a 3, so it's a total of an 8 for this cult. I mean, the cults for the whole pretty strong.
God, Horgar.
Hey guys, do you think Midsommar deserves a sequel? What's your sequel idea? Do you think it deserves a sequel? Yes, I think it deserves.
Absolutely.
It's deserving of it because it's a good movie. Do I want one? No. What my sequel idea would be? That's kind of what you got to ask.
Honestly, for me, it would be a prequel because like I wouldn't go 90 years into the future from this point. I would go 90 years into the bat because I mean, it's in 90 year cycles.
I want Danny and Pelly like they're living together here. We're following them here, and it's just some other. It's midwinter
next year,
or excuse me.
Oh, I guess there is. I guess there is like a summer and a winter solstice. Maybe it's what the ritual is for winter solstice.
That'd be interesting to see, and just how it gets even crazier,
and it's dark all the time, and it's all snow.
Or next year, where Danny has to welcome some people in, and it's just kind of chill because she doesn't have to. She just helps him through watching the people die or something. I want to see 180 years in the future what that festival is going to look like.
Blade Runner Midsommar.
It is like this weird EDM fest, but still focuses all around on the same kind of things there. That's great, guys. I like all that. Are you going to buy this soundtrack on vinyl? I would. If I saw the vinyl for this, I'd buy it.
Probably not, unless the vinyl itself looked really rad. I have no reason to get it.
I like the soundtrack for it. It would enough that I would like to own it on vinyl. When I listen to it,
see, I'm in the same boat because like there's some like the folk music that is in this, and then like the score I think is great. I am petrified of that alarm weird fucking song thing from the beginning of the fucking movie where like I would adamantly not listen to the vinyl that I bought because I realized I'd have
just listen to one side of it.
Absolutely, because I wouldn't want to even encroach on that fucking scene in my mind while kind of just trying to relax at my house.
Of course, the second side's going to be all the folk stuff anyway. You know?
Exactly.
Perfect. Great, I love it. Is anything action figure worthy? Hell yeah. May Queen
so much
figure?
Stuff. Are you kidding me?
May Queen,
Bear action
Christian
figure,
Bear.
Christian Bear.
Yeah.
All of them in their death states splayed out.
Bear, Blood Eagle.
Yeah, Blood Eagle. Yeah. I mean, just having like the Barbie Playhouse is just the yellow temple, and then all the action figures just sit around in a semicircle in the center of it.
I love it. I want that. Give me it. I'll take all of that. There's going to be promotional merch, and they want our help figuring out what that's going to be, guys.
Already know what it is.
Promote the movie.
Already know what it is.
What's that?
I'm going to do a May Queen wildflower chia pet head.
Nice. Nice, I do like that.
Oh,
so it's just Danny's frowny face, and then you just smear
in the
that
middle
goop,
of it, and you smear,
and you just have wildflowers going around the whole thing in your house.
I appreciate that very much. I like that. You're gonna go and you're gonna get. It's gonna be like a normal hammer, but it's just gonna say Midsommar on it. It's Midsommar hammers. And you're gonna go into it and be like, why am I getting this? And you're gonna come out and be like, I get the gag here.
It's my Midsommar hammer.
Precisely.
Hell
you got any ideas, Sam?
Nope.
Cool, no problem. We got you. All right. It's time to ask what prop you want from this film. I'll take her like the just
I want
the
the
head
May Queen dress.
I don't need
I
the
want
whole,
the whole thing.
I don't have the room. Well, I guess in a perfect world, that outfit would be perfect.
I don't care. I'd figure out the place to keep it. I'd
You'd
get
be
storage.
wearing it. Like I imagine,
Dude, I would get the mural.
Sam comes out, just sitting there,
just hanging out there. Yeah, obviously the bear.
Frowning, staring at the floor.
No, I would get the mural from the beginning of the movie. Is such a freaky, weird fucking thing.
Any of the tapestry stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love any of those.
The bear painting in the beginning, but the bear one that Christian stares at, the black and white one when he goes into Steve's house. I love that one.
Okay.
The bear
I guess
outfit.
Take that barn they live in.
I was actually going to say a promotional item should have been a full bear sleeping bag. So like you zip it up and it just your head the center of it.
Yes. That's
I know A24 has the yellow house is like incense. Like
I
holder.
love that.
That's
You can get that.
cute.
All right, so what is the popcorn bucket? House, yellow sacrificial thing.
Sacrificial
You open that up,
house.
you can pull out some popcorn there.
Oh,
Maybe some
the
sort of
meat
like
pie.
flayed.
The meat pie with the with the pubes, straight pubes.
Oh, it's a big meat pie. I like that.
I think you
Pew
could just
pie,
have
pew
the
pie.
open bear pre-Christian.
Ooh,
That's a good one too. I like that. Well, we answered the crematorium's questions, so it's time to get over to our ratings.
I only want your fingers.
Should we all, cut our fingers open and bleed on it?
Can you wrap your fingers around this?
I'll take a Voorhees burger and a side of Jason's fingers.
Show them.
It is now a time to take a sip of tea and pull out our ceremonial knives as we rate this film. On this show, we like to use our subjective rating scale of 0 to 5 fingers. Each cut off finger adds to the score, with more fingers equaling a higher score. I can start us off tonight, then I'll go ahead and go to Ross. Sam, you can clean us up with this one here.
Alrighty.
I don't know if this will be surprising to anyone, but I am going to go ahead and go engaging. 1, I've seen this movie more than a few times now, and I am constantly engaged with it and always looking for something within the frame to find and feel. Sticky. 1, this movie has stuck with me thinking about it ever since I watched it for the first time. I've been excited to bring it onto the pod to talk about. It's something I enjoy living in. T-shirtable, definitely. Sam mentioned the best T-shirt idea already, and I'll let him re-mention that one. I have a T-shirt of the yellow house thing on it that I got from like Etsy that I could wear when I went and saw it in IMAX. So I'd be like, yeah, Midsommar. Cockles one rocks my cockles. I love the whole aesthetic to this. The fucking brightly lit horror movie is amazing. Rocks the cockles and rewatchable. 1, I'd watch this again as long as it is. I don't care. And even if that wasn't truly the case, I feel this movie deserves the 5 from me. So that's what I have to give it. Cool. Rossi Poo, how about you?
Ooh. Engaging is a 1. I'm engaged every time I see this movie. Sticky is also going to be a 1. I think that it's weird where this is that sticky because I like it and also sticky because I hate it. Is that the grief
sticky
icky?
That's the sticky
icky. It is. I think it's the stickiness is how well grief is portrayed in this movie. It's insanely pungent, I guess would be the best descriptor for this film. And
it
stinks.
Sticky icky.
But you need to, but I mean that in a good way. It's almost like I have to when engaging where I'm engaged because
I get it, it's the anti-cockle thing.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it works. But it works for this. Exactly. But it works for this movie. T-shirtable, absolutely a 1. Although it's weird, if you would have asked me that 2 years ago, I probably would have given it a 0.5. And the only reason I said is just because it's I think the more I'm watching it, the more I'm inept to want to wear it the shirt. Cockles, same thing. It's like Cockles, anti-Cockles. I have to give it a 1. It's just like part of it is repulsive to me. And I mean that in like a very like guttural, visceral, like I fucking parts of this movie disgust me and I fucking hate it. And I hate the way it makes me feel. I hate the fucking, and then there's other parts of it that are so insanely elegant and beautiful that like you go through this entire blooming of emotions while going through this movie. And that hasn't dissipated the more I've watched it, which is shocking to me. Because like usually with that, especially with polarizing feelings like that, I feel like I'd either get desensitized the more I watch it,
of course,
or deglamored by the what I like about it, you know. But neither one of that has happened, so it's kind of remained constant. And then rewatchable. Oh man. You know what? I had it written down as a 0.75. I'm going to give it the full 1. I'm going to give it a 5.
Whoa.
Because
it's that watchable, baby.
It's,
Right.
Yeah.
I said it's the watchable.
Yeah.
It's the watchableness of it that.
Oh my God. Yeah. Because I feel that like,
that's
because of the grief and because of the heavy shit that's in this fucking movie, this is like, to me, it's not a background fucking doing shit around my house movie. Like this is, I have to be in a certain mood and a certain comfortability with myself to watch this. And when I am, it's great, but it's not going to be one of those movies where like out of the blue, hey, you want to watch Midsommar? And I'm like, fucking no. Like, that's not no. I have to be like in my own little headspace to be like, I'm going to watch this again. I want to venture into this festival. So yeah, buddy. It's awesome. Parts of love it, parts of hate it, but I'm still going to give it a 5 because it fucking deserves a 5.
Nice. One of the podcasts we listened to, or maybe one of the other ones I did, someone mentioned like, yeah, this movie's great and to be really funny too if you're like in a really solid relationship at the time. I'm like, yeah, totally. Yeah, like I'm good. I don't have to worry about that. Like,
you're like, whoa.
It could open up some thoughts. Like if you were in a rocky thing, like that could just be.
I wonder what it'd be like to watch after a breakup.
Interesting.
Oh yeah.
You know. Like we had Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Imagine if we had
Midsommar.
Whoa.
Oh, I like those ideas. But let's finish up, Sam.
All right. So I will say, having only seen this movie once until a few weeks ago, I had it rated on Letterboxd just based on how I felt about it, which was a 4. Gotcha. And then when I saw it again and went through my fingies, I was like, still a 4. And then when I watched it yesterday and in my head went through my fingies, I was like, oh my God, this might be a 5. Like, I think I might have liked it most on my third watch, which is crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
so let's see. Engaging is definitely a 1. Not looking at my phone. If anything, so again, that first watch had such an impact, you almost don't want to go back to it, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Nailed it.
Not wrong. That's a brilliant way to put
it. So, but it's got a rewatchability to it, which plays to the engagement of, on rewatches, there's actually so much stuff to look for now that you know what's going on and you can pay attention to other stuff that's happening. So my engagement was maybe at its highest on yesterday's watch.
Yep.
Sticky is a 1 because even though it'd been 5 years since I'd seen it, when I saw the director's cut, I was like, yeah, this is exactly as I remember it. Minus, a few extra scenes. T-shirtable. I've had a shirt for a while. When I got the shirt, actually, I only got it because I thought it was a rad shirt. It was still a 4 for me, which is good, good enough to get the shirt.
Yeah, it's great.
But I was like, it's a really rad tie-dye from Creeperama, who the Creeperama podcast are coming on next week.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Cockles. Cockles is a big fat 1. Again, it's got that anti-cockle because it that day, I was dazed on the couch and watched a movie where Florence Pugh was having a good time. And it does have, so we've all talked about the grief thing, but I have like been that person wailing and yelling no, and it's tough, but it's the sticky icky, right?
Yes.
So it's good.
Very much so. Very much so.
Which goes to rewatchable, makes it hard to rewatch for,
absolutely
reasons just stated. But again, once you kind of know what's going on and you can look at other things, yet somehow my third watch was the first time I cried during it. I don't know. Anyway, for the watchability of the rewatchability, just the straight up seeing it, it's a 1. So it's a 5. And Midsommar.
Wow.
Guys, it's been so long.
It's a certified
shuttle.
Which I did not think I was, again, after, it wasn't until yesterday that it went up to a 5.
That's so much fun. I'm so happy that this has happened, just in general.
People hate this movie too. It's so funny.
Yeah.
People really hate it.
Whatever. Weirdos. I don't get it. We do. And I think a lot of the club does too. I got a bunch of stuff that they chimed in a bunch. So we're going to run through these here. Alex, the Witch Plalix, jumped in. He has a big note here. I've been waiting to watch this movie for a long time, but it somehow slipped by me, so I was excited to finally be able to watch it. I loved it. Florence Pugh is amazing. I love the look and feel of this movie. It's both off-putting and strangely comforting in a way. The casting is great, and I just can't stop thinking about what an amazing job Florence did. There's a scene later in the movie where she is looking at her boyfriend as he's talking to someone, and just watching her facial expressions says so much. Also, I loved how the visitor's death all represented the 4 elements. It's very subtle, but I realized it when I'm looking back at a great movie. I've never even thought about that, but very well.
Earth, fire, water.
Wind and funk.
Yeah.
Engaging. 1. I found the movie to be more engaging than I thought it would be, and was fully engulfed in the mystery of Hadriga and its customs. Sticky. 1, the opening with her parents and the face hammer scene were very sticky. I'd say the visuals in this film are very sticky. T-shirtable. 0.5. I love this movie and the visuals, but other than the bear on fire, I'm not really sure what would look great on a shirt. Well, we got some ideas for you.
Yeah.
We got.
Oh, what did you say my idea was? Because I didn't say it.
The May Queen.
Just a print shirt.
Print.
I don't want a t-shirt. I want like a button-up collar.
No, that's what I meant. But I mean, t-shirtable, in my opinion,
sure,
that counts
shirtable,
something,
totally.
Cockles 1. I feel like this movie definitely is an emotional journey. It's difficult to watch it and not feel something in your cockles. Rewatchable 1. I'd love to rewatch this movie. I feel there's a lot of things I didn't pick up the first time, but I'm not sure if it's a regular rewatch, like Return of the Living Dead or something like that. 4.5 fingers. Great score. This is fun. Tiger Snake Kate, the Goo Witch of Eternal Fate, came in and said engaging 1. There's a lot of overlap in this movie, trying to process what the hell I had seen, plus the feeling of dread and what is going to happen next. It took several viewings to take in everything, and I was all in each time. Sticky 1. Definitely a lot of imagery that is etched into my brain to this day. Yeah. T-shirtable 0.5. I guess there are some interesting images, but compared to the other franchise, I guess there are some interesting images, but compared to other franchises, movies, probably a bit less. If I'm being honest, I got a little tired of the close-ups of Florence Pugh making the same face throughout. And that is the first thing I think of. Cockles, 0.5. Much of this stuck with me at first, but is very much a what would I do in this situation movie for me. But as time has passed, I don't really think about it too much. And rewatchable 1. This really deserves several viewings in order to catch everything. Still fairly certain things that I haven't seen. 4 out of 5. Again, great score. Thomas Michael Thomas. Check out his books. Listen to his episodes. 5 for me.
Huh.
Hard Body Scotty, the Cat Witch is Sloppy Toppy. Said
this
engaging.
could have been one we would have all agreed on.
Right? Yeah. Wild.
We missed it.
Don't come here. Hard Body Scotty, the Cat Witch is Sloppy Toppy. Engaging 1. Every single time I watch this movie, I'm engaged from beginning to end. Sticky 1. Sticky as honey in a bear suit. T-shirtable 1. Give me a shirt with just the yellow house and I'll wear the hell out of it. Then I'll set myself on fire. Cockles 1. definitely tickles my cockles. Besides the movie itself, it's the most realistic depiction of a hallucinogenic trip I've seen in a movie. So it takes me back to my old raver days. So many cockles. Yeah. Go check out Fun with Horror. Scotty, he talks about
him on for Rave to the Grave. The Return of the Living Dead sequel.
Perfect. We'll get you. Rewatchable, 1. I once wondered how rewatchable this movie would be. Then I rewatched it. This movie is infinitely rewatchable. It's one of the very few movies that I truly enjoy pausing and deciphering during a rewatch for Fun with Horror. Y'all know how much I love this movie. One of my faves at the time. I was promoted him, and then he already, I guess, slipped that in there, just to make sure.
Good job.
5 perfect fingers trying their best not to eat their meat pies. Trevor Mitch, Master of Pleasure, gives it a 4. Ricky Prejean, the Witchy K. Jean, gives it a 4. Boss Tuna gives it a 10 on their scale over there, so that's a 5. Travis Maxwell Boone gives it engaging 1. What's that? Maxwell Boone, the Witch Doctor of Dune, saw it in theaters, and both Aster and folk horror are some of my jams, plus the engrossing story and runtime hooked me in even more. Sticky 1. I remember a lot about this movie, from the soul-crushing opening to the blazing finale. T-shirtable 1. The imagery would lend itself very well to mini shirts, but I want Snap's watercolor painting on a shirt. Snap, shout out Snap, made a watercolor painting of Bear Man. On fire. Cockles 0.75. After several rewatches, it has sort of milked me less and less for various reasons I'll discuss one day. Ooh, titillating. Rewatchable 1. I still need to see the director's cut, so that will be my next watch of this film. 4.75 out of 5. I want the full Gallagher head smash hammer as a prop, and for the midnight showing, I'm throwing tampons at the screen. Prisoner said, I second this, 100% agree. Weird said, I thought we were talking about a holiday all this time. That is what the club has to say. And how does that compare with what we got in the book? I mean, well, it's a certified shuttle, so that sits up there with the top. That is Scream, that is Psycho Goreman, that is other top notches, Nightmare on Elm Street, Pussycake, Barbarian, The Signal, and Deadstream, and Revenge.
How many is that total now? Sorry.
That is a 9 total with our official Chuddles.
And we've done over 100 movies.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's good. At one point I felt like, oh my God, everything's going to be, but no, we got other shit sitting up there pretty high, but nothing, but those are the ones that are doing it. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, this was a fun one, guys. Thus concludes this gathering of the Chuddle the Pod movie club for tonight. As it is written, where 2 or 3 are gathered, so shall the spirit of community dwell among them. This was my closeout for Mother, and I felt like it fit well for this too. You, dear club members, are the heart and soul of this assembly. Remember to join our fellowship in the Discord, the sanctuary where the conversation continues to flourish with fellow devotees, fans, and past guests. Follow Chuddle the Sam on Letterboxd, myself over there, Chuddle the Bryan with a Y, to heed our cinematic insights. Ross Purvis on Instagram to behold the visions of his artwork, his tattoo work. If you're in the Orlando area, go get tattooed from him. Do it. Buy his shit. Give him money. Shit. Do not forget the many ways to reach out to us. Rate and review us. That helps so much. Spread the word. That helps even more. And until we gather again, may you walk in the light and avoid the time loop.
Oh.